All you need is macchiato. The Coffee Loft series, Mountain Brew Collection. Written by Susanne. Please like and subscribe. Chapter 1. Kathryn. The scent of pine and wood smoke welcomes me as I pull into Mountain Laurel Lodge, my tires crunching on the gravel drive. After 3 hours of winding mountain roads, the sight of the rustic main building with its weathered timber and stone facade feels like stumbling into a postcard. I ease my city-suited Prius into a spot between two mud-splattered pickup trucks and take a moment to breathe in the view. Dense forest stretches in every direction, and the late afternoon sun catches on the mountains beyond, painting them in shades of gold and purple. It's enough to make a girl forget she's here on business. My phone buzzes. Speaking of business. Status update needed on Elk Ridge location. Full report expected by end of week. I stare at the email from corporate. Seriously? I just crossed the county line, and they're already demanding updates? I tap out a quick reply, just arrived. We'll assess situation tomorrow morning and report findings. The response is immediate, time is of the essence. 3 months maximum to turn location around. I slip the phone into my blazer pocket, refusing to let corporate's impatience ruin my first impression of the Elk Ridge location. For now, it was time to get settled in my temporary accommodations and take a long, hot shower. The lodge rises before me, its wide wraparound porch dotted with rocking chairs that look perfect for morning coffee or evening wine. Mountain laurel bushes line the walkway, their pink blooms adding splashes of color to the rustic scene. My heels, completely impractical for mountain life, I'm realizing, click against the wooden steps as I make my way to the entrance. The door swings open before I reach it. You must be Kathryn. A silver-haired woman with warm brown eyes greets me with a smile that makes me feel instantly at home. I'm Evie Callahan. Welcome to Mountain Laurel Lodge. Thank you for having me. I resist the urge to smooth my travel-wrinkled blazer. I hope it wasn't too much trouble booking at the last minute. Nonsense. We always have room for guests who need a place to land. There's something knowing in her eyes that makes me wonder just how much she's figured out about why I'm here. Though I must say, we don't get many business travelers this time of year. Mostly hikers and nature enthusiasts. I can see why. I follow her into a great room that feels more like someone's cozy living room than a hotel lobby. A stone fireplace dominates one wall, and comfortable leather chairs are grouped around coffee tables that look like they were carved from local timber. This place is gorgeous. Been in the family for generations. Evie's voice brims with pride as she leads me to the check-in desk, which is really more of an antique writing table. My parents started with just the main house, but we've expanded over the years. Added the cabins, the activity center, the garden terrace. My phone buzzes again. I ignore it. The gardens must be beautiful in spring, I say, spotting a photograph on the wall of the terrace absolutely dripping with flowers. Oh, you should see it when the mountain laurel is in full bloom. We host the most beautiful weddings. Evie pulls out a leather-bound guest book. Though something tells me you're not here for the flowers. Before I can respond, voices drift in from the porch. Through the window, I spot 2 men in hiking gear, consulting what looks like a trail map. One of them waves at Evie. That's Connor, my second oldest, she says, returning the wave. He runs our guided hikes and fishing tours. And that's Jameson, my nephew with him. He coordinates all our activities. I watch them head off toward a building marked Activity Center, their easy camaraderie obvious even from a distance. There's something appealing about a family business where everyone has their place. Speaking of family, Evie continues, my oldest, Liam, handles most of the day-to-day operations. Declan runs our restaurant. You'll meet them all at dinner, I expect. We do a family-style meal in the dining room each evening. She hands me an old-fashioned key attached to a wooden tag. Unless you'd prefer to dine in your room? No, dinner sounds lovely. And it does. When was the last time I sat down to a real family meal? 7 o'clock sharp. Evie's eyes twinkle. Declan takes his timing very seriously. Though if you're late, just blame it on Nolan. He's supposed to show you to your room, but that boy runs on mountain time. As if summoned by his name, a deep voice calls from the doorway. I heard that, Aunt Evie. I turn and nearly stumble. The man approaching us is nothing like the flannel-clad mountain men I passed on my drive up. Sure, he's wearing jeans and boots, but he moves with an easy grace that suggests comfort in any setting. His dark hair is slightly tousled, like he's been running his hands through it, and his blue eyes catch mine with surprising intensity. Perfect timing, Evie says. Nolan, meet Kathryn Taylor. She'll be staying with us for a while. Welcome to Elk Ridge. He extends a hand, and I notice the contrast of calluses against his otherwise well-kept appearance. His handshake is warm and firm, lingering just a moment longer than necessary. Thanks. I'm usually better with words, but something about his direct gaze has scattered my thoughts. City girl? His mouth quirks up at one corner. Is it that obvious? The heels might have given you away. His eyes drop to my feet, then back to my face. Though you wear them well. Heat creeps into my cheeks. Before I can respond, Evie clears her throat. Nolan handles our marketing, she says, and I catch a hint of amusement in her tone. Though right now he needs to handle showing you to the Laurel Suite. She hands him my key. And I need to check on dinner. You'll join us? I nod, watching her disappear down a hallway. When I turn back, Nolan's already picked up my suitcase. I can get that, I protest. I'm sure you can. He starts toward the stairs, glancing back with that half-smile that I suspect gets him his way more often than not. But my aunt raised me right. Following him up the wooden staircase, I find myself wondering what else Evie Callahan taught her family about hospitality. Mountain Laurel Lodge already feels more welcoming than any place I've stayed in years. So, Nolan says as we reach the second floor, what brings a city girl to our neck of the woods? Would you believe I'm just here for the famous pot roast? He laughs, a rich sound that does interesting things to my insides. Not a chance. But I'll let you keep your secrets for now. My phone buzzes again. This time I pull it out, scanning another demanding email from my contact at corporate. Nolan catches my frown. Everything okay? Fine. I tuck the phone away. Just work. Must be important work to bring you all the way to Elk Ridge. There's a question in his voice, but I'm not ready to explain my mission here. Not when I'm just starting to feel welcome. Nolan stops at a door near the end of the hallway, fitting the key into an ancient-looking lock. Here we are. The Laurel Suite. He pushes open the door to reveal a room that takes my breath away. Windows on two walls frame the mountain view, and a stone fireplace mirrors the one downstairs. Everything from the handcrafted furniture to the locally woven throws speaks of care and attention to detail. This is beautiful, I breathe. Wait until you see it at sunrise. Nolan sets my suitcase by a massive four-poster bed. The mountains catch the light just right. You sound like a marketing brochure. Occupational hazard. He hands me the key, his fingers brushing mine. Dinner's at 7. Don't be late. Declan takes his pot roast very seriously. So I've heard. And Kathryn? He pauses at the door. Whatever brought you here, welcome to the lodge. I watch him go, then sink onto the impossibly comfortable bed. My phone buzzes again and I power it off.
Chapter 2. Nolan. The dining room at Mountain Laurel Lodge is always loud at dinner. Between Connor's hiking stories, Jameson's jokes, and Declan's passionate explanations of whatever he's cooked up, quiet conversation is pretty much impossible. But tonight, I find myself watching our newest guest instead of joining in the usual chaos. Kathryn Taylor fits into our family dinner like she was meant to be here. She's laughing at one of Jameson's terrible puns, asking Connor intelligent questions about the local wildlife, and making all the right appreciative noises about Declan's pot roast. If it weren't for the designer blazer draped over her chair, you'd never know she was a city girl. So what do you think of our little slice of heaven? Aunt Edie asks her, passing the rosemary potatoes. It's incredible. Kathryn's eyes light up. I had no idea places like this still existed. Everything feels so real and authentic. As opposed to what? I can't help asking. She turns that bright gaze on me. As opposed to places that try too hard to manufacture an old-fashioned mountain experience. This is. What? Genuine. She takes a sip of wine, and I find myself watching the way her throat moves. Like the lodge grew right out of the mountainside. That's exactly what Pop used to say. Aunt Edie beams. He always insisted we work with the land, not against it. Smart man. Kathryn's looking around the room now, taking in the old photographs on the walls. How long has the lodge been here? Since before electricity, Connor says. Though we've added a few amenities since then. Thankfully, Jameson adds. Can you imagine trying to run the activity center by candlelight? Speaking of the activity center, Aunt Edie gives me a meaningful look. Nolan, why don't you show Kathryn around the property after dinner? The sunset from Eagle Point is particularly beautiful this time of year. Subtle, Aunt Edie. Real subtle. Kathryn's already turning those hazel eyes on me again. I'd love a tour, if you don't mind. Like I could say no to that smile. An hour later, we're walking the property's main trail, our shoulders occasionally brushing. She's changed into more sensible shoes, but that blazer's still making me smile. What? She asks, catching my look. Nothing. Just thinking your usual vacation spots probably don't include quite so much dirt. And what makes you think this isn't like my usual spots? Lucky guess. I help her over a fallen log, trying not to notice how well her hand fits in mine. Most of our guests don't show up looking like they stepped out of a business magazine. Maybe I'm branching out. There's something guarded in her tone, but before I can puzzle it out, we reach Eagle Point. The sun setting behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Kathryn moves to the railing, and I find myself watching her instead of the view. The wind's playing with her hair, and there's wonder in her expression as she takes in the valley below. This is. She shakes her head. Genuine? She laughs. I was going to say extraordinary, but genuine works too. We stand in comfortable silence for a while, watching the colors deepen. I should be pointing out local landmarks or sharing the history of the lookout. Instead, I'm noticing how the sunset brings out gold flecks in her eyes. Tell me about the lodge, she says finally. What's it like, working with family? Loud. That gets another laugh. But good. Everyone has their role. Connor knows these mountains better than anyone. Declan's a genius in the kitchen. Jameson keeps guests entertained. And Aunt Edie holds it all together. What about you? What's your role? Besides giving sunset tours to city girls? She bumps my shoulder. Besides that. Marketing, mostly. Social media, promotional events, community outreach. Making sure people know we're here. Sounds like you love it. I do. And I mean it. There's something special about sharing this place with people who appreciate it. The way she's looking at me makes me want to share a whole lot more, but my phone chimes with a text from Rowan. Supply run needed in town. Duty calls? Kathryn asks. Unfortunately. But I can show you the rest tomorrow, if you're interested. I'd like that. Morning hits different in Elk Ridge. The sun creeps over the mountain slowly, like it's in no hurry to start the day. I'm making my rounds downtown, checking in with local businesses about our upcoming fall festival at the lodge. Nolan! Marie waves from our flower shop. She's arranging sunflowers in buckets outside her door, adding splashes of yellow to Main Street. Tell your aunt those centerpieces for the Morgan wedding will be ready Friday. Will do. I help her shift a particularly heavy bucket. Need any more lodge brochures? Always. The tourists love your hiking trails. She straightens, brushing dirt from her apron. Speaking of tourists, I saw your aunt's newest guest earlier. Quite a change from your usual crowd. I try to keep my voice neutral. How so? Well, for one thing, she's wearing heels. On Main Street. Marie shakes her head fondly. Reminded me of myself when I first moved here from Charlotte. Sometimes it takes a while to find your mountain legs. I'm about to respond when I spot that familiar blazer through the morning crowd. Kathryn's walking purposefully down the street, checking her phone, looking every inch the city professional I'd almost forgotten she was last night. But it's who she's meeting that stops me cold. Cam Prescott stands outside the Coffee Loft in his usual trying too hard suit. He's wearing that same slick smile he had 3 years ago when he promised us the coffee shop would stay authentically local under corporate ownership. Right before he gutted everything that made it special. "Oh dear," Marie murmurs, following my gaze. "That can't be good." I watch as Kathryn shakes Cam's hand. She pulls out her tablet and follows him inside. Through the window, I can see him gesturing around the space like a king showing off his castle. "Remember what it was like before?" Marie asks softly. "When your mom used to take you and your cousins there after school?" "I do." Mom would order her usual. Connor and I would split a giant snickerdoodle cookie while she helped us with homework. After she got sick, Mr. Peterson would send cookies home with Dad, saying they were extras he needed to get rid of. Then Kim showed up with his corporate checkbook and promises of maintaining the local charm while maximizing efficiency. Now the homemade cookies are gone, replaced by standardized seasonal offerings. The snickerdoodles come prepackaged from some warehouse. And the community bulletin board where Mom used to post lodge events has been replaced by corporate promotional posters. Through the window, I see Kathryn smile at something Kim says. She's taking notes, nodding, looking every bit the corporate consultant I should have known she was. My phone buzzes. Jameson, reminding me about supplies he needs for the activity center. But I keep watching, pieces clicking into place. The business attire. The vague answers about why she's here. The way she changed the subject whenever the conversation turned to work. "You know," Marie says gently, "she seemed nice when she stopped to admire my sunflowers earlier. Asked all about local suppliers, wanted to know if I'd consider providing flowers for the coffee shop?" The words come out sharper than I intended. Actually, she asked about the lodge. Said the arrangements in the great room were gorgeous. I remember how her eyes lit up at dinner, how genuine her wonder seemed at Eagle Point. How easily she fit into our chaos. But I've seen this show before. Corporate sends in someone charming to smooth things over, to make big promises about community and connection. Then the spreadsheets come out, and suddenly words like efficiency and standardization start getting thrown around. "Nolan." Marie's voice breaks through my thoughts. "Not everyone in a blazer is the enemy." "No?" I watch Kathryn follow Cam to the counter. "Tell that to Mr. Peterson. Tell that to everyone who lost their jobs when Cam's efficiency experts came through." My phone buzzes again. This time it's Aunt Edie. "Don't forget to invite Kathryn to the bonfire tonight. Connor's bringing his guitar." I stare at the message, remembering how her hand felt in mine on the trail. How her laugh blended with my family's at dinner. How she talked about things being genuine. "Sorry," I text back. "Already made plans." "You're being stubborn," Marie calls after me as I head toward my truck. "Just like your mother." I pretend not to hear her. Mom was stubborn about the right things. About family, about community, about not letting anyone change what matters just because their spreadsheets say they should. Some walls are better built early, even if building them feels a lot like loss.
Chapter 3. Kathryn. Absolutely not. Cam Prescott flicks through my proposal with barely a glance. Community partnerships? Local supplier integration? We don't have time for that touchy-feely stuff. I lean forward in my chair, ignoring how the vinyl squeaks beneath me. It's not touchy-feely. It's Coffee Loft's core mission. Creating spaces where community happens. Look. Cam leans back, his designer tie at odds with the coffee shop's rustic interior. I know what corporate preaches about community integration, but let's be realistic. Quick promotions and flashy drink specials, that's what brings in the money. The morning sun streams through the windows, illuminating dust motes and mist cleaning spots. The place has good bones. I like the exposed brick walls, high ceilings, and plenty of natural light that remind me of our Wilmington location. But Cam stripped away everything that should make a coffee loft special. Everything I imagine was here when he bought out a local coffee shop and turned it into a Coffee Loft franchise. Have you seen the numbers from our Wilmington location? I pull up the stats on my tablet. Customer retention is through the roof. Average visit time doubled after we implemented community initiatives. Wilmington isn't Elk Ridge. Exactly. Each location should reflect its community. That's literally in the franchise handbook. Cam waves this off. We need quick wins. Corporate gave us 3 months. They sent me because this location has lost its way. You're ignoring our brand values, trying to copy chains that Coffee Loft has never wanted to be. Coffee is coffee. No, it's not. I think of the wishing wall back home, of the local art shows, of the book clubs that meet every Wednesday. Coffee Loft is about connection. About being part of something. He checks his watch. Very inspiring. But I've got a conference call. Push the seasonal specials, run some BOGOs, and let's focus on what matters. What matters is that your highest rated drinks are from the original menu. The ones that actually reflect this community. Those'll phase out eventually. He stands, straightening his jacket. People want consistency. They want authenticity. It's why they chose Coffee Loft over the big chains in the first place. But he's already heading for his office, leaving me alone with my proposals and mounting frustration. Outside, Main Street is coming alive. Marie's Flowers catches my eye first. Bright bouquets spill from buckets onto the sidewalk. Next door, Miller's Bakery has a line stretching to the corner. The scent of fresh bread makes my stomach growl. Every shop window tells a story. Just like every Coffee Loft should. I start walking, making notes on my tablet. Back home, our local partnerships are the backbone of our success. The wishing wall just amplified connections that were already forming. Here, I'll have to rebuild those bridges from scratch. A bell chimes as a door opens ahead of me. A young woman exits a bookstore, carefully balancing a stack of novels. Need a hand? I ask as one book starts to slip. Thanks. She readjusts her grip. I get carried away sometimes. Sarah Miller. At my blank look, she adds, from the bakery? Kathryn Taylor. From the Coffee Loft. I watch her expression change. And I was hoping to talk to you about rebuilding our partnership. You mean the one Mr. Prescott killed because our prices weren't competitive enough? I mean the one Coffee Loft never should have lost. We're supposed to be part of our communities, not working against them. She studies me for a moment. You sound different from Cam Prescott. Because I've seen what works. In Wilmington, our local partnerships aren't just good community relations. They're good business. Stop by the bakery tomorrow morning, she says finally. We'll talk. The sun is setting by the time I make it back to the lodge. The great room glows with warm lamplight, and a fire crackles in the massive stone fireplace despite the mild evening. Productive day? Evie looks up from her knitting as I sink into the chair across from her. Interesting one. I kick off my heels, curling my feet under me. Your town has so many amazing local businesses. MMM. She sets her knitting aside. And how does Coffee Loft Corporate feel about local partnerships these days? They're our priority. It's why they sent me. I meet her knowing gaze. Cam's been running this location like a generic chain. It's everything Coffee Loft tries not to be. Is that so? There's something careful in her tone. The wishing wall at my location in Wilmington? It transformed our shop. Created real connections. The kind that can't be measured in daily sales reports. The kind my family used to have with the old owner. Through the window, I spot a familiar figure crossing the parking lot. Nolan's carrying supplies to the activity center, his movements sure in the gathering dusk. He used to work there too, you know, Evie says, following my gaze. Helped create some of their most popular drinks. The specialty menu I've been fighting to preserve. Sounds like exactly what Coffee Loft is about. It was. Evie's needles click softly. Before Cam decided he knew better than the brand he bought into. I think of my notes, my plans, my determination to restore what should never have been lost. I want to make it right, I say finally. I want to make it special again. Good. Evie stands, gathering her knitting. Though you might find some people need convincing that corporate and community can coexist. She's right. I have partnerships to rebuild, trust to earn. Starting with the man I can still see through the window, whose walls I'll have to find a way past before I can help restore what Coffee Loft should have been all along.
Chapter 4. Nolan. Mind if I borrow that? I nod toward the wrench in Aunt Edie's hand. She's been trying to fix a loose railing on the front porch for the last 10 minutes, while guests stream past her on their way to Connor's morning hiking tour. Be my guest. She steps back, wiping her brow. Though I almost had it. Sure you did. I take her place, tightening the bolt with probably more force than necessary. Like you almost fixed the kitchen sink last month. And the shower in cabin 4. And that sink had a mind of its own. She settles into a nearby rocking chair, watching me work. Kind of like that scowl you've been wearing since yesterday. The one that sent poor Jameson running when he asked for help with the activity schedule. I focus on the railing. Don't know what you're talking about. No? Her chair creaks softly. So it has nothing to do with our newest guest? The one you were so charming with on her first night? The wrench slips, and I barely hold back a curse. A young family passes by, their kids racing toward the activity center where Jameson is setting up the morning's crafts. Normal lodge life going on while my world feels slightly tilted. You mean corporate's latest fix-it expert? I move to the next loose bolt. Here to streamline and optimize and whatever other buzzwords they're using these days? Kathryn seems lovely. They always do. The metal groans under my grip. Right up until the spreadsheets come out and suddenly words like community and connection turn into profit margins and efficiency metrics. Bitter doesn't suit you, dear. You're starting to sound like old Joe when the grocery store stopped carrying his favorite pickles. At least Joe got his pickles back. Our coffee shop? That's gone for good. Aunt Edie's quiet for a moment, just the sound of her rocker and early morning birdsong. Through the window, I catch a glimpse of Kathryn crossing the great room in another one of her tailored blazers. My hands tighten on the wrench. You know, Aunt Edie says finally, your mother always said judgment was like morning fog. Let me guess? It burns off if you give it time? Only if you're willing to wait for the sun. She pours coffee from her thermos into 2 mugs, holding one out to me. Remember how you used to experiment with coffee drink recipes? Spend hours getting the combinations just right? That was different. That was about creating something special. And who's to say that's not what Kathryn wants too? I take the coffee, noticing again that it's not from Coffee Loft. None of us get coffee there anymore. Haven't since Cam Prescott decided local suppliers weren't cost-effective enough. Since community events didn't fit his vision of quick turnover and higher profits. This isn't about judgment, I say, leaning against the now stable railing. It's about experience. Coffee Loft sends these people in with their big ideas and bigger promises, but they don't understand Elk Ridge. Don't want to understand it. They see a struggling mountain town location and think they can fix it by making it just like their city shops. Like you didn't want to understand that young man from the ski resort? The one you said would turn our winter activities into a tourist trap? The same one who's now our best seasonal partner? That was different. Was it? She sips her coffee, eyes twinkling. You know what else your mother used to say about snap judgments? Please, no more mom quotes this early in the morning. Fine. Then hear it from me. She sets her mug down. People can surprise you. If you let them. Even corporate lackeys? Especially people we've already decided not to like. She picks up her coffee again. Did you know Kathryn asked about your hazelnut macchiato? Something twists in my chest. Mom's favorite. The one we spent weeks perfecting with Mr. Peterson. Probably wondering why it's taking up menu space. Actually, she's been fighting to keep it. Along with the other original specialties. Seems she believes Coffee Loft locations should reflect their communities. Right. I grab the wrench again, needing something to do with my hands. Next you'll tell me she wants to bring back open mic nights and local art shows. Aunt Edie's silence makes me look up. No, I say flatly. She mentioned something about community boards and local partnerships. Because that worked so well last time? Not everyone is Cam Prescott, dear. She stands, collecting our mugs. Did you know she ran the Wilmington location? Apparently, they have something called a wishing wall. Brings the whole community together. Community isn't something you can franchise. No, she agrees. But maybe some people understand that better than others. She pauses at the door. Your mother also used to say the best views come after the hardest climbs. Food for thought, dear. I watch her go, then turn back to the railing. It's solid now, no matter how hard I shake it. The morning sun breaks through the trees, casting long shadows across the porch. In the distance, I hear Connor's group setting out on their hike, their voices bright with anticipation. Fine, I mutter to the morning air. I'll keep an open mind. A chickadee lands on the railing, tilting its head at me. But I'm not going to like it. The bird chirps what sounds suspiciously like laughter before flying away, leaving me alone with thoughts of hazelnut macchiatos and community boards and the way Kathryn's eyes lit up when she first saw the mountains. The Saturday market turns our town square into organized chaos, like it does every weekend. Local vendors set up their stalls under striped awnings, selling everything from honey to hand-knitted scarves. Usually, I'm here early to network with potential lodge partners, but today I'm running late after fixing that railing. I'm discussing winter festival plans with Beth, who makes the best apple butter in 3 counties, when a laugh catches my attention. A familiar laugh, but somehow different from the polished chuckle I heard at the lodge. Kathryn Taylor stands at Marie's flower stall, but she's not the corporate warrior I saw yesterday. Her hair is pulled back in a casual ponytail, and she's wearing jeans and a soft-looking sweater the color of mountain laurel blooms. Running shoes instead of those city heels. She's holding up a bunch of wildflowers, head tilted as she listens to Marie explain something about their meanings. She looks comfortable. Like she belongs here among the market crowd instead of in some corporate boardroom. Earth to Nolan. Beth waves her hand in front of my face. Should I come back when you're done staring? I wasn't, but Beth's already grinning and packing up a jar of apple butter. On the house, she says, pressing it into my hands. For entertainment value. I'm about to protest when Kathryn spots me. Something flickers across her face before she smiles. It's not her professional smile from the lodge. This one's got a hint of challenge in it. Mr. Mountain Man. She tucks her flowers into a canvas market bag. No flannel today? I'm disappointed. Casual Friday was yesterday. I gestured to her outfit. But I see you got the memo about dress code today. What, this old thing? She does a playful twirl that belongs more at a county fair than a corporate takeover. Turns out heels aren't ideal for market reconnaissance. Is that what this is? I lean against Marie's stall. Gathering intel on local commerce patterns? Absolutely. She pulls a notepad from her bag with exaggerated seriousness. Item 1, Marie's wildflowers would look much better than those sad fake plants currently gathering dust at, she breaks off, something uncertain crossing her face. At the coffee shop? I finish, surprised to find the words don't taste as bitter as they did this morning. Sorry. She tucks the notepad away. I know it's a sore subject. Everything's a sore subject in a small town. I surprise myself by adding, but you're right about Marie's flowers. Her eyes widen slightly. Was that almost an agreement, Nolan Callahan? Must be the fresh air affecting my judgment. Marie, who's been pretending not to listen, snorts. Or maybe your aunt's morning pep talk? Kathryn's eyebrows rise. Evie gives pep talks? More like wisdom wrapped in mountain metaphors. The words come out before I can stop them, easy and natural. Let me guess. Something about fog lifting? How did you? She might have tried a few on me too. Kathryn adjusts her market bag, and I catch the scent of wildflowers and something warm, like vanilla. Though mine was about mountain streams finding their path. That's a new one. I suspect she has an endless supply. We share a smile, and for a moment I forget why I'm supposed to be keeping my distance. Then I spot Kim Prescott across the square, heading toward his German sports car, and reality crashes back. Well, Kathryn must see something change in my expression. I should get these in water. Right. Wouldn't want to delay your market reconnaissance report. Oh, absolutely. That challenging smile returns. Corporate's very interested in Beth's apple butter techniques. Could be franchise-changing material. I watch her weave through the market crowd, her ponytail swinging, those wildflowers peeking from her bag. She stops to help an older lady pick up a dropped apple, chats with the honey vendor, high-fives a kid selling painted rocks. She's not what you expected, is she? Marie starts wrapping up her leftover flowers. She's exactly what I expected, I lie. Corporate charm in casual clothes. Marie hums noncommittally. You know what your mother used to say about. Don't you start too.
Chapter 5. Kathryn. Look at these numbers. I slide my tablet across Cam's cluttered desk. Community events at our Wilmington location tripled foot traffic in under 2 months. Cam barely glances at the screen. Local events are messy. Take up space. Interrupt the flow of regular business. They create regular business. I pull up another chart. See these peaks? Farmers market Saturdays. And these? Live music nights. People come for the events and stay for the coffee. Annie, the most experienced barista, pokes her head into the office. Sorry to interrupt, but I couldn't help overhearing. The Callahans do amazing events at the lodge. Maybe Nolan could. Absolutely not. Cam's chair scrapes against the floor as he stands. We don't need the Callahans' help. Annie flinches at his tone. I just thought since he does such great work with their marketing. That's all. Thank you, Annie. Cam's dismissal is clear. She shoots me an apologetic look before disappearing back to the counter. Through the office window, I watch her greet a customer with a warmth that's completely missing from this room. Local partnerships are key to. To what? Cam interrupts. To making this place as quaint and inefficient as it was before? We're a franchise, not a community center. We're both. I stand my ground. That's Coffee Loft's whole model. Being part of the community while maintaining consistent quality. Quality means standardization. Quality means understanding your market. I pull up one more set of numbers. Look at your customer retention rates. They're abysmal. People come once, maybe twice, but they don't come back. You know why? Enlighten me. Because there's nothing here that says Elk Ridge. Nothing that makes this place special. His jaw tightens. And you think some local events will fix that? I think they're a start. I take a breath. And I think Nolan Callahan could help. Absolutely not. Why? Because he knows what works here? Because the lodge's events are successful? Because he's difficult. Uncooperative. Stuck in the past. I excuse myself, ostensibly to check on inventory. Annie's wiping down tables, humming softly. Tell me about the lodge events, I say casually. Her face lights up. Oh, they're amazing. Last month's Harvest Festival had the whole town out. Nolan coordinated everything: local vendors, music, activities for kids. He even got the high school art club involved with decorations. Sounds perfect for what we need. It was. Is. She glances toward the office. Before. I mean, when Mr. Peterson owned the place, we used to partner with the lodge all the time. Nolan would help promote our events, we'd cater their gatherings. It worked. I think about Nolan at the market, so different from the corporate-wearing mountain man I first met. About how he knew every vendor by name, how naturally he fit into the community's fabric. Back in the office, I face Cam again. Our quarterly review is in 2 months. Corporate's watching this location closely. I'm aware. Then you're also aware we need to show significant improvement. I pull up the projections. Community events could increase revenue by 30%. Minimum. He stares at the numbers, jaw working. Fine. The word sounds like it physically pains him. Talk to Callahan. But keep him out of my coffee shop. Your coffee shop? You know what I mean. He turns to his computer, dismissing me. Just keep him away from the counter. I don't need his opinions on our drink menu. I leave the office, mind racing. What happened between them? Why would a franchise owner be so against working with someone who clearly knows this market? Annie catches my eye as I pass. Good luck, she mouths. I'm going to need it. Because somehow I have to convince a man who thinks I'm everything wrong with corporate coffee to help save a place he used to love. At least I know he looks good in flannel. Wait. Where did that thought come from? I shake my head, pushing through the door into the mountain morning. One impossible task at a time. The steady thunk of an axe leads me around the side of Mountain Laurel Lodge. I find Nolan splitting wood, and for a moment, I forget why I came. He shed his usual flannel for a simple gray t-shirt, and the late morning sun catches on his shoulders as he works. The pile of split wood beside him suggests he's been at it for a while. Enjoying the show? I start, heat rushing to my cheeks as I realize I've been staring. Nolan's watching me with that half-smile that seems to live in the corner of his mouth. I was looking for you, actually. I step closer, trying to focus on my mission rather than how the mountain air has tousled his hair. I have a proposition. A corporate proposition? He splits another log with precise force. A community one. I wait until he looks at me. The Coffee Loft needs help. That's putting it mildly. He sets up another piece of wood. I want to bring back local events. Farmers markets, music nights, art shows. Things that make it more than just another coffee shop. The axe pauses mid-swing. And what does Cam think about that? He's coming around to the idea. Nolan laughs, but there's no humor in it. Right. And let me guess. You want the lodge's help? I want your help. That gets his full attention. Annie told me about the events you used to coordinate. How you brought the community together. That was a long time ago. He leans on the axe handle, studying me. Before your corporate playbook took over. That's just it. This is not the playbook. Coffee Loft is supposed to be about community. Cam's the one who lost sight of that. Something flickers in his eyes. Pretty bold statement for someone who works for him. I work for Coffee Loft. I step closer, close enough to catch the scent of pine and wood smoke. And I've seen what happens when we get it right. In Wilmington, our shop is a hub for local artists, small businesses, families. That's what this location could be. Could have been, he corrects. Before Cam decided efficiency was more important than connection. Then help me prove him wrong. He's quiet for a long moment, just looking at me. I fight the urge to fidget under his gaze, aware of how close we're standing, of the warmth radiating from him in the cool morning air. Why should I trust you? His voice is softer now, almost curious. Because I'm not asking you to trust Cam, or even Coffee Loft. I meet his eyes. I'm asking you to trust that I want what's best for Elk Ridge. A bead of sweat traces down his neck, and I catch myself following its path, before snapping my attention back to his face. He's noticed, if that slight quirk of his eyebrow is any indication. What exactly would you want from me? He sets the axe down, crossing his arms. Your expertise. Your connections. Nobody knows this community like you do. And when Cam decides my ideas are too local for his franchise model, then I fight that battle. I lift my chin. I've got the numbers to back up community integration. Numbers. He shakes his head. Always comes back to numbers with you people. No, it comes back to proving what works. And your events? They worked. He studies me for a long moment. I'd need complete creative control over the events. Within Coffee Loft guidelines. Complete control, he repeats. Or no deal. I can't just. Then we're done here. He reaches for the axe. Wait. I touch his arm before I can stop myself. His skin is warm under my fingers. Okay. Creative control. But I need to be involved in the planning. Why? Don't trust my corporate corrupting influence? Because I want to learn. The honesty in my voice surprises us both. I want to understand what made this place special. He looks at my hand, still resting on his arm, and I quickly pull it back. Fine. He straightens, and suddenly I'm very aware of how he towers over me. But I'm not doing it for Cam. I know. And I do it my way. No corporate oversight. Within reason. That gets me a real smile, quick and dangerous. Afraid I'll corrupt your brand standards? Afraid you'll turn the place into a mountain lodge annex? Wouldn't dream of it. He picks up the axe again. The lodge has better coffee anyway. For now. I back away before I can get distracted again. Meeting tomorrow? We can go over ideas? Make it dinner. At my surprised look, he adds, Declan's making his famous pot roast. Unless you have other plans? Dinner sounds perfect. I'm halfway back to the lodge when his voice stops me. Kathryn? I turn. He's silhouetted against the morning sun, axe resting on his shoulder, looking every inch the mountain man I first took him for. This better not be another corporate rescue mission. It's not, I say softly. It's about making something right. He nods once, then turns back to his work. I definitely don't watch him set up another log. Definitely don't notice how his shirt clings to his shoulders as he swings the axe. Definitely need to focus on something, anything, else. Chapter 6. Kathryn. The sun setting as I make my way to the lodge, painting the mountains in shades of pink and gold. I've swapped my blazer for a soft sweater. The pile of discarded clothes on the bed is proof that it wasn't my first choice. My hands won't stop fidgeting with my hair, which is ridiculous because this is just a business dinner. Planning events. Strategic development. Nothing that explains why my stomach keeps doing little flips or why I had to redo my lip gloss twice. I blame the altitude. I expect to find the usual bustling great room, full of hiking-tired tourists and chattering families. Instead, Nolan's waiting at the entrance, looking unfairly handsome in a dark button-down that makes his eyes even bluer. No tablet? He quirks an eyebrow at my empty hands. In my bag. I pat the leather tote that holds not only my tablet but 3 different proposal drafts. I can be off-duty sometimes. We'll see about that. He gestures for me to follow him, not toward the main dining room, but down a quieter hallway. Aunt Evie thought we might want some space to work. He opens a door to reveal a smaller room I didn't even know existed. A fire crackles in a stone hearth, casting dancing shadows on walls lined with vintage photographs of the lodge. The table is set with gleaming silverware and wine glasses that catch the light from iron lanterns overhead. This is, I swallow, cozy. Private dining room. Nolan pulls out my chair. For special occasions. And business meetings qualify as special occasions? His hands linger on my chair as I sit. Depends on the business. Before I can process that, Evie sweeps in with a covered dish that fills the room with the rich aroma of her famous pot roast. You two work as late as you need. She sets down the dish with a knowing smile. I'll make sure no one disturbs you. We won't be that long, I protest. Just a quick planning session. The pot roast disagrees. Nolan's already lifting the lid, releasing more mouth-watering scents. And you don't argue with Declan's pot roast. Is that a local ordinance? Might as well be. He pours wine into my glass, and I definitely don't notice how the firelight plays across his forearms where he's rolled up his sleeves. I reach for my bag. While we eat, I can show you my ideas for. Nope. He gently pushes the bag away. First rule of mountain dining. No work until after the pot roast. There are rules now? Many. His eyes dance with amusement. All strictly enforced. The pot roast is every bit as legendary as promised, falling apart at the touch of a fork. Conversation flows as easily as the wine, about the lodge, about my time in Wilmington, about his marketing projects that have nothing to do with coffee shops. So there I am, he's saying, trying to convince this luxury travel magazine that yes, we actually want them to feature our mud run event. No. Oh yes. Sent them pictures of Wall Street types, covered head to toe in mountain mud. They loved it. I'm laughing so hard I have to set down my wine glass. Please tell me you have copies. Maybe. He leans back, watching me with an expression I can't quite read. You have a great laugh, you know that? Heat rushes to my cheeks. Thank you? Don't hear it much when you're in corporate mode. I'm not always in corporate mode. No? He leans forward, and suddenly the table feels much smaller. Prove it. Tell me something that's not in your proposal drafts. I should reach for my bag, steer us back to business. Instead, I find myself saying, I collect refrigerator magnets. His eyebrows shoot up. What? From everywhere I travel. My fridge looks ridiculous. This whole mismatched collage of places and memories. And what magnet will you choose for Elk Ridge? The way he's looking at me makes it hard to think. I haven't decided yet. Maybe a mountain. Or a coffee cup. Basic. He shakes his head. We'll have to find you something better. We'll. The word hangs in the air between us. Right, I say quickly. Speaking of coffee. Should we look at those event ideas? If we must. But he's smiling as I pull out my tablet. We spend the next hour planning, our heads bent close over various proposals. Nolan's insights transform my generic ideas into something uniquely Elk Ridge. A simple market becomes a celebration of mountain crafts. Live music nights evolve into storytelling sessions around the fireplace. What about the wishing wall? He asks suddenly. I freeze. What about it? Annie mentioned you had one in Wilmington. We did. Do. I trace the rim of my wine glass. It started small. Just sticky notes on a wall. But it brought people together. Created connections. Sounds like the community bulletin board we used to have. His voice is quiet. Before Cam. And there it is. The elephant in our cozy room. What happened? I ask softly. Between you and Cam? Nolan stands abruptly, moving to the fireplace. The flames paint shadows across his face as he stares into them. It's not a quick story. He turns back to me. And not one for tonight. I want to press, to understand the history I'm walking into. But something in his expression stops me. Another time, then. I gather my things, suddenly aware of how late it's gotten. Thank you for all of this. He walks me to the door, and for a moment we just stand there, the fire crackling behind us. He's close enough that I can smell pine and wood smoke and something uniquely him. Kathryn? Get a bear magnet. I laugh, breaking the tension. A bear? Trust me. He opens the door. It's very Elk Ridge. I step into the hallway, but his voice stops me again. Same time tomorrow? I turn back, heart doing something complicated in my chest. For work? That dangerous half-smile returns. If that's what you want to call it. I walk back to my room in a daze, my tablet full of perfect event plans and my mind full of firelight and blue eyes and the way he says my name. The morning sun streams through Coffee Loft's windows, warming the exposed brick walls as local vendors set up their displays. I adjust a stack of blank cards near our newly installed wishing wall, fighting the urge to check my phone for the 100th time. Nolan leans against the counter, watching Annie arrange fresh pastries from Miller's Bakery. His skepticism is clearly visible, but at least he showed up. Quite a transformation. He gestures to Marie's wildflower arrangements, brightening each table. Though the corporate overlords might object to all this local color, the corporate overlords encouraged it. I straighten a crooked frame. Some of us actually read the franchise manual. His reply is cut off by the first customers arriving. Soon the space is humming with conversation and the scent of fresh coffee. Sarah Miller's sample tray of scones disappears in minutes. Marie chats with customers about her flower arrangements. The wishing wall slowly fills with colorful cards, each one a hope or need waiting to be answered. Well. A familiar voice cuts through the pleasant buzz. Look who's worked a miracle. Cam stands in the doorway, designer suit stark against the homey atmosphere we've created. His smile doesn't reach his eyes as he surveys the crowd. Hardly a miracle. I gesture to the busy space. Just giving the community what they want. What they want. He repeats the words like they're foreign. And I see you've enlisted some local help. Nolan straightens beside me, but his voice stays easy. Just doing my civic duty. Supporting local business. How charitable. Cam's smirk could cut glass. Though I didn't realize the mighty marketing genius of Mountain Laurel Lodge had time to play assistant. The temperature in the room seems to drop. Several locals pause their conversations, watching. Funny. Nolan's tone is mild, but I feel him tense. I remember making that same offer 3 years ago. You weren't interested in local expertise then. Ancient history. Cam waves this away. Though I must say, your community spirit is touching. Almost as touching as that winter festival proposal you were so proud of. Something dangerous flashes in Nolan's eyes. Keep things on track, Kathryn. Cam adjusts his tie. We don't want to get too rustic. He sweeps out, leaving a wake of whispers and sidelong glances. What was that about? I turn to Nolan. What winter festival? Leave it. No. I touch his arm, feeling the tension there. I need to understand what I'm walking into. He studies me for a long moment, then nods toward the door. Walk with me? Outside, the mountain air is crisp with approaching autumn. We fall into step together, heading toward the lodge. 3 years ago, he says finally, when Cam bought the franchise, the Callahans offered to help with the transition. We knew the community, the market. Had ideas about blending Coffee Loft's brand with local culture. And Cam smiled and nodded and ignored every suggestion. Until winter came. His jaw tightens. I'd been working on a festival concept. Something to bring people together during the slow season. Local vendors, music, activities for kids. Cam shut it down hard. But 3 months later, there it was. Different name, slightly different format, but my concept. Right down to the hot chocolate station I'd planned. He laughs without humor. When I confronted him, he said great minds think alike. Then he banned the lodge from participating. That's why you were so against helping me. Partly. He stops, turning to face me. Look, I know you mean well. But Cam doesn't care about community or connection. He cares about a quick profit. I'm not Cam. No. His eyes soften as they meet mine. You're not. Something in his voice makes my heart skip. We're standing close, too close for colleagues, too far for whatever this pull between us is becoming. Thank you, I say softly. For giving this a chance. For giving me a chance. Don't thank me yet. But there's a warmth in his voice that wasn't there before. We still have to survive Cam's helpful suggestions. We? That dangerous half-smile returns. Well, I can't let you ruin Coffee Loft's image all by yourself. He's teasing, but there's something else in his expression. Something that makes me wonder what would happen if I took one step closer, if I. A car horn breaks the moment. We both step back, and I realize we've reached the lodge's parking lot. I should check on the market, I say quickly. Right. He runs a hand through his hair. Wouldn't want things getting too rustic. I watch him climb the lodge steps, wondering how someone can feel simultaneously so familiar and so out of reach. Chapter 7. Kathryn. One sugar or two? I look up to find Nolan standing over an antique tea service, perfectly at ease in this quiet corner of the lodge's lounge. The fire crackles beside us, and outside the window, the first stars are appearing over the mountains. One, I say, sinking deeper into the overstuffed armchair. Though I have to say, you don't strike me as a tea person. Aunt Evie's influence. He hands me a delicate cup, the china warm against my fingers. She believes all important conversations should happen over tea. Is this an important conversation? His eyes meet mine over the rim of his cup. You tell me. I try to focus on the numbers from today's market, not on how the firelight softens his features or how different he seems here, away from the coffee shop's tensions. The turnout exceeded expectations, I say, pulling out my tablet. Though you probably noticed that. I noticed a few things. He settles into the chair opposite mine, close enough that our knees almost touch. Like how Sarah Miller's scones disappeared faster than at the lodge's breakfast buffet. Are you admitting I was right about something? Don't push it. But there's a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Though I will say, watching old Joe Thompson write on that wishing wall was unexpected. The grumpy man with the pickles? The same. Nolan's laugh is rich and warm, wrapping around me like the fire's heat. Never thought I'd see him asking for knitting lessons. Sometimes people just need permission to want things. I trace the rim of my teacup. To ask for help. Like you're about to do? I look up, startled. What? You've got that look. He leans forward, and suddenly the space between our chairs feels very small. The one you get when you're trying to solve a problem. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who's been watching. My heart does a little flip at his words, but I force myself to focus. The market was successful, but one good event doesn't erase 3 years of disconnect. I set down my cup. The locals still see us as outsiders. Corporate intruders. And Cam's attitude isn't helping. Nolan sits back, but his eyes stay on mine. You want to know how to make Coffee Loft feel like it belongs here. Is that even possible? Depends. He studies me for a moment. Are you willing to think small? Small? Everyone expects big gestures from corporations. Grand events. Flashy promotions. He gestures to my tablet. But this town runs on little things. Remembering someone's usual order. Asking about their grandkids. Saving the morning paper for old Joe because he likes to read it with his coffee. Like you used to do. Something flickers in his expression. Like we all used to do. Show me? The words slip out before I can stop them. His eyebrows rise. Show you what? How to make it matter again. Not just the events, but the everyday moments. The silence stretches between us, filled with firelight and possibility. Nolan's looking at me like he's seeing something new, something he hadn't expected to find. Thank you, I say softly. For what? For believing this can work. Even when you had every reason not to. I don't know if I believe it can work. His voice is equally soft. But I'm starting to believe you might. Our eyes meet, and for a moment everything else falls away, the market analysis, the corporate pressure, the complicated history. There's just the firelight, the tea, and the way he's looking at me like I'm a puzzle he can't quite solve. The grandfather clock in the hall chimes 9, breaking the spell. We both reach for our cups at the same time, hands brushing. The contact sends electricity up my arm. More tea? Nolan asks, his voice slightly rough. I should probably go. I gather my things, trying to slow my racing heart. Early meeting tomorrow. He walks me to the stairs, our shoulders almost touching. At the landing, I turn to say goodnight and find him closer than I expected. Kathryn? Yes? Small steps. His smile is gentle. Rome wasn't built in a day, and Elk Ridge won't be won over in a week. Even with your help? Especially with my help. That dangerous half-smile returns. I have a reputation for being difficult, remember? I laugh, the sound echoing in the quiet hall. Good night, Nolan. Good night, city girl. Jake. I nearly knock over my chair rushing to greet them in the lodge's great room. Jake catches me in a bear hug while Sophia laughs beside us. Looking good, boss lady. Jake sets me down, grinning. The mountain air agrees with you. You mean the coffee fumes, Sophia teases, pulling me in for her own hug. Though I have to say, this place is gorgeous. They look exactly as I remember. Jake is tall and sandy-haired with his easy smile, Sophia radiant in a flowing dress that somehow looks perfect, despite their long drive. The sight of them makes my heart ache a little for Wilmington. You're just in time. Evie appears with perfect timing, as always. I've set up coffee and treats in the garden room. She turns to call over her shoulder. Nolan? Our guests are here. I watch Nolan approach, suddenly nervous about these two parts of my life colliding. But Jake's already stepping forward, hand extended. So you're the marketing genius I keep hearing about. His grin is infectious. Kathryn mentioned your event ideas. Pretty impressive stuff. All part of the job. But I catch Nolan's pleased smile as he leads us to the garden room. The space takes my breath away, all windows and natural light, with mountain views on three sides. Flowers bloom in copper planters, and a coffee service waits on a rustic table. This is perfect for what we want to show you. Sophia pulls something from her bag, a photo album. The evolution of our wishing wall. Evolution? Nolan settles into a chair beside me, close enough that I catch the scent of pine and coffee. It started so small. Jake accepts a cup from Evie, who's definitely not hovering with poorly concealed interest. Just sticky notes on a wall. People writing down things they needed or dreamed about. Like what? Nolan leans forward, and I find myself watching his profile. Everything. Sophia flips open the album. A single mom needing help with yard work. A teenager wanting guitar lessons. An elderly man hoping someone would read to him once a week. And Jake here, I add, started making them come true. Not all of them. Jake's modesty is genuine. But enough. Connected people who could help each other. Before we knew it, the whole town was involved. Sophia's voice warms with memory. People would come in just to check the wall, see if there was something they could do. It became this beautiful cycle of giving and receiving. Show them the Thompson wish, I say, and Sophia flips to a particular page. Sarah Thompson, age 8. She points to a photo of a sticky note in childish handwriting. Wished for someone to teach her to read better because her mom worked 2 jobs and couldn't afford a tutor. What happened? Nolan asks quietly. We found a retired teacher to work with her. Jake smiles. Now Sarah's top of her class, and her mom brings us coffee cake every Sunday. I watch Nolan study the photos, his expression softening. And corporate was okay with this? More than okay. I pull out my tablet, showing him the numbers. Customer loyalty skyrocketed. People came for coffee and stayed for connection. It transformed our whole shop. Into what? Into what Coffee Loft is supposed to be. I meet his eyes. A place where community happens. Something shifts in his expression. And you think it could work here? I think it's worth trying. I gesture to the album. Look at these stories. These connections. Elk Ridge deserves that kind of magic. Magic? His tone is teasing, but his eyes are serious. You know what I mean. I do. He studies a photo of a wall covered in colorful notes. But Cam. Will be a challenge, Jake interrupts. I've seen it with other managers. Change scares people, especially people more concerned with bottom lines than human connections. Sophia touches my arm. You'll face resistance. We certainly do. But when it works. When it works, Jake finishes, it's like watching a whole town remember they're part of something bigger than themselves. I feel Nolan shift beside me, his arm brushing mine. You really believe in this, don't you? He asks softly. I believe in what it could mean for Elk Ridge. I turn to face him fully. But I can't do it alone. Our eyes meet, and for a moment I forget we're not alone in the room. Then Jake clears his throat. Well, he says, sharing a look with Sophia that makes me blush, I'd say your coffee shop's in good hands. Evie, who's definitely been eavesdropping, swoops in to suggest showing Jake and Sophia to their rooms. As they gather their things, I notice Nolan still studying the photo album. What are you thinking? I ask. I'm thinking. He traces a finger over a photo of smiling people gathered around the wishing wall. I'm thinking old Joe Thompson might have more wishes than just knitting lessons. Is that a yes? He looks at me then, really looks at me, and my heart does that complicated thing it's been doing a lot lately. That's a convince me, he says with that half smile that's becoming dangerously familiar. Challenge accepted. I close the album, very aware of how close we're sitting. Though I should warn you, I can be pretty convincing when I believe in something. Oh, I'm counting on it.
Chapter 8. Nolan. Her laugh hits me first. Not the polite chuckle I've heard her use in meetings, but something real and bright that carries across the coffee shop. Kathryn sitting with Jake near the newly installed wishing wall, her hands animated as she talks, her smile wider than I've seen it. And then, Jake saying as I approach, she actually convinced the health inspector to write a wish. He did not. But Kathryn's already laughing again, and something twists in my chest at how easily they fit together. The wall behind them is starting to fill with colorful cards. Sophia moves around them with her camera, capturing different angles, while Kathryn and Jake share another joke I'm not part of. Coffee? Annie appears at my elbow with a knowing look. Please. I follow her to the counter, trying not to watch how Jake leans in when Kathryn speaks, how natural they look together. They seem close. Annie starts the espresso machine. Jake's been telling us about their Wilmington days. Apparently, Kathryn was one of the first people to believe in his crazy wall idea. Of course she was. It's sweet, really. Annie continues, steaming milk. The whole coffee shop family thing they had going. Jake would read the wishes every morning, try to figure out who could help who. Kathryn would stay late matching people up. Sounds efficient. Annie gives me a look. Sounds like you're jealous. I'm not, but I'm saved by Sophia joining us at the counter. Your lighting is gorgeous in here. She shows me a few shots on her camera. The way the morning sun hits the brick? Perfect for capturing community moments. I study the photos, trying not to notice how many feature Kathryn's smile. You do this professionally? Started as a hobby while covering the wishing wall story for my news station. She accepts a tea from Annie. Now Jake and I inspire wishing walls all over the country. People helping people. It's addictive. Seems complicated. Oh, it is. She laughs. You should have seen his first attempt. Jake had this grand vision of changing the world one wish at a time. I came across it on assignment. It sounded better than working on yet another piece about seasonal coffee drinks. Was it? Of course. She nods toward where Jake is explaining something to Kathryn, his hands sketching shapes in the air. I watched him connect people who never would have found each other otherwise. Pretty soon I was as invested as he was. And now you're married. And now we're married. She studies me over her tea. Though that wasn't part of the original business plan. I catch her meaning but choose to ignore it. Small towns are different. People here, they're not always open to change. Neither was I. She pulls up another photo, an elderly man hugging a young girl. This is Sarah Thompson, the girl who needed reading help, with Mr. Collins, the retired teacher who helped her. Both of them thought they were alone in what they needed. Both of them were wrong. Across the room, Kathryn looks up and catches me watching. Her smile shifts into something softer, more personal. I look away quickly. You know, Sophia says casually, when Jake first met Kathryn, she was just another barista trying to make ends meet. But she got it immediately. She saw how coffee shops could be more than just places to grab a drink. How they could bring people together. Hope is risky. So is anything worth doing. She gathers her camera. Though between you and me, I think she's found something worth the risk here. And I'm not talking about the coffee shop. She moves away before I can respond, rejoining Jake and Kathryn at the wall. I watch them talk, these people who believe in wishes and walls and the power of coffee shop magic. Kathryn turns again, catching my eye. This time I hold her gaze, just for a moment. Just long enough to see something question in her expression, something that makes my carefully constructed walls feel a little less solid. Your coffee's getting cold, Annie says softly. Right. Coffee. Business. Walls. A little higher on the left. Kathryn steps back, studying the wishing wall sign I'm hanging. No, your other left. I only have one left. I adjust the corner anyway, fighting a smile at her concentrated frown. She's perched on a chair across the room, head tilted as she considers the angle. Perfect. She hops down, nearly colliding with the table. I catch myself starting forward before she rights herself with a laugh. Though you didn't have to help, you know. And miss the chance to be bossed around? Never. Her eyes spark at the challenge. I do not boss. You literally just made me adjust this sign 6 times. 5, actually. She moves closer, pretending to study the sign but definitely invading my space. The last one was just to see if you do it. I should step back. Should maintain some professional distance. Instead, I find myself leaning slightly closer. Enjoying your power trip? Immensely. She smells like coffee and vanilla, and it's doing dangerous things to my concentration. If you two are done flirting, Jake calls from across the room, we've got signage to explain. Kathryn steps back quickly, cheeks pink. Right. The explanation cards. We set up at a nearby table, spreading out the materials. Kathryn's shoulder brushes mine as she leans in to show me the text she's drafted. We want to make it clear this isn't just another bulletin board, she explains. It's about creating connections, helping dreams come true. No matter how small. Very poetic. She bumps my shoulder. I'm serious. People can sign their wishes or leave them anonymous. Others can help directly or through the baristas. The important thing is making everyone feel safe sharing their hopes. And you really think people will? I know they will. Her conviction is almost tangible. Look at old Joe. One farmer's market, and he's already asking for knitting lessons. Well. Cam's voice cuts through the moment. He's standing in his office doorway, eyeing our work with obvious disdain. How quaint. Though I suppose every corporate initiative needs its local flavor. I feel Kathryn tense beside me. Actually, the wishing wall has been incredibly successful in multiple locations. Cam's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Just keep the riffraff to a minimum, dear. We are still a business. He disappears back into his office, leaving an unpleasant silence in his wake. Charming as ever, I mutter. Kathryn sighs. He just doesn't get it. And you do? She turns to face me fully. You don't think I do? I choose my words carefully. I think you believe in this. But Elk Ridge isn't Wilmington. People here, they've been burned before. By Cam? By promises. I start arranging blank wish cards, needing something to do with my hands. Community connections sound great, but what happens when corporate decides they're not profitable enough? Is that what you're worried about? She touches my arm, and I still. That this is just another fleeting idea? Isn't it? No. The firmness in her voice makes me look up. This isn't about profit margins or corporate initiatives. This is about creating space for hope. For connection. For people to help each other in ways they might never have thought possible. She's close enough that I can see flecks of gold in her eyes, count the freckles across her nose. Her hand is still on my arm, warm through my sleeve. You really believe that? I do. She reaches past me for a wish card, her hair brushing my shoulder. Because I've seen it work. I've seen people find friendship, support, even love through these wishes. And I'll keep repeating myself until I get it through that thick skull of yours. We both reach to straighten the stack of cards, our hands colliding. Neither of us pulls back immediately. Her fingers are soft against mine, and for a moment I forget about corporate initiatives and past disappointments. Nolan? Her voice is barely a whisper. You're holding the cards upside down. I look down to find she's right. We both laugh, breaking the tension, but something has shifted between us. Something that makes it hard to remember why I was so determined to keep my distance. I should go. I step back, immediately missing her warmth. Lodge stuff to handle. Right. Is it my imagination, or does she sound disappointed? Thanks for your help. At the door, I turn back. She's already hanging the first wish card, stretching up on her toes to reach the perfect spot. The evening sun catches her hair, turning it to fire. Kathryn? She looks over her shoulder. Yes? I hope you're right. About the wall. About everything I can't say out loud. Her smile is soft. Want to make a wish and find out? I leave before I can do something stupid like tell her I already have.
Chapter 9. Kathryn. Is it too much? I adjust a vase of Marie's sunflowers for the 10th time. Maybe we should spread the refreshments out more, make it feel less like an event and more like a community coming together? Sarah Miller sets down another tray of sample-sized pastries. Relax, Kathryn. It's perfect. The morning sun streams through Coffee Loft's windows, catching on the blank cards waiting to become wishes. We've arranged them in woven baskets Jake brought from Wilmington, along with colorful pens and push pins. The wall itself is ready, bordered with twinkle lights that Sophia insisted would add the perfect touch of magic. Old Joe Thompson is first through the door, right at opening time. He pauses at the sight of the wall, squinting at the explanation cards. So anyone can write a wish? He asks, accepting a coffee from Annie. Anyone. I hand him a blank card. And anyone can help make them come true. He studies the card for a long moment. Even silly wishes? Especially silly wishes. He shuffles to a table, and I force myself not to hover as he begins to write. More people drift in, the morning regulars, curious locals, a few tourists drawn by the festive atmosphere. Sarah's pastry samples disappear almost as fast as she can slice them. Marie arranges flowers in vintage coffee cups, creating miniature centerpieces that immediately draw attention. "Look, Mom." A little girl tugs her mother's sleeve, pointing to a wish someone's already posted. "Can we write one too?" Soon the wall starts filling with color. Each card tells a story. "Looking for chess partners, Tuesday afternoons preferred. Need help organizing grandma's photo albums. Would love to learn to make those amazing Miller's Bakery scones. Seeking fellow bird watchers for morning hikes." They're really doing it. Nolan's voice startles me. He's appeared at my elbow, watching the growing collection of wishes. They're actually sharing. Did you doubt them? I doubted it would feel this. He gestures to where old Joe is carefully pinning up his card. Natural? Real. A young woman approaches the wall, reading each wish carefully. She stops at old Joe's card, a smile spreading across her face. "Knitting lessons," she says, loud enough for him to hear. "I teach beginner classes at the craft store." Old Joe looks up, surprise and hope warring on his weathered face. "Yeah? We meet Thursday afternoons." She grabs a card, writing quickly. "Here's my contact info. First lessons free." I watch them talk, this unlikely pair brought together by a simple wish. When I turn back to Nolan, his expression has softened. "One wish down," I say softly. "How many to go?" "As many as it takes." The morning unfolds like a flower opening to the sun. A high school student offers to help with photo albums. Sarah agrees to teach a small baking class. The chess enthusiast finds not one but 3 potential partners. This is remarkable. Marie joins me at the counter, her flour supply depleted. "It's like magic?" Sophia suggests, snapping photos of a family writing wishes together. "Like home," Marie corrects. "It feels like home again." I catch Nolan watching me from across the room. When our eyes meet, he doesn't look away this time. Instead, he moves closer, reaching past me for a blank card. "What are you doing?" "Making a wish." His handwriting is surprisingly elegant as he writes. "Isn't that the point?" Before I can read it, he pins it high on the wall, well above my reach. "That's not fair." His smile is dangerous. "Guess you'll have to find someone tall to help you." A burst of laughter draws our attention. Jake is demonstrating his famous latte art for a group of teenagers, creating tiny wishbones in their drinks. "He's good with people," Nolan observes, and I hear the question he's not asking. "He is." Sophia's lucky. Something relaxes in his shoulders. "Ah. Speaking of lucky." I nod toward the door where Cam stands, watching the proceedings with an unreadable expression. "Want backup?" "No." I straighten my sweater. This is my project. My responsibility. But before I can approach Cam, something magical happens. A young mother walks up to him, her sleeping baby strapped to her chest. "Are you the owner?" She beams when he nods. This is wonderful. Exactly what Elk Ridge needed. A place where people can really connect. Cam's expression shifts, softening as more people notice him. They approach with compliments, questions, gratitude. I watch him straighten, warming to their praise. "Well played," Nolan murmurs. "I didn't plan this." Sometimes the best wishes are the ones we don't know to make. I think of his card, still mysterious and just out of reach. Speaking of wishes. Nice try. He backs away, grinning. Some things are worth waiting for. The rest of the morning passes in a blur of wishes and connections. By lunch, the wall is a rainbow of hopes and offers and possibilities. Annie keeps a notebook of connections made, wishes granted, stories starting to unfold. 23, she announces proudly. 23 wishes already matched with helpers. I stand back, taking in the scene. The coffee shop hums with conversation and laughter. Every table is full. The air smells like coffee and pastries and possibility. Feeling proud? Jake appears beside me. Feeling grateful. I watch Marie teach a teenager about flower arrangements, Sarah share baking tips with a young couple, old Joe discuss knitting patterns with his new teacher. This is what coffee shops should be. It's what they can be, he corrects. When the right person believes in them. Across the room, Nolan pins another wish to the wall. This one I can reach, but something tells me to wait. Some wishes reveal themselves in their own time. For now, it's enough to watch my coffee shop, because that's how it feels now, like mine in all the ways that matter, become exactly what I hoped it could be. Well. Cam slides behind the counter like he owns the place, which, technically, he does. When I said we needed customer engagement, I didn't expect quite this level of enthusiasm. After his earlier appearance during the celebration, I'd hoped he'd stay in his office. But here he is, freshly pressed suit somehow spotless, despite the crowded shop. The community is really embracing it, I say, stepping back as he moves closer. We've already matched over 20 wishes. Impressive. He leans against the counter, invading my space. I must say, you have a knack for exceeding expectations. Something in his tone makes me want to take another step back, but I'm already against the espresso machine. The credit goes to the town. They just needed the opportunity to connect. So modest. His smile reminds me of a car salesman's. You know, I've been thinking about our future here in Elk Ridge. Our future? The Coffee Loft's future, of course. But his eyes say different. With the right leadership, the right partnership, we could really make something special here. Across the room, I catch sight of Nolan watching us, his expression darkening. I try to catch his eye, but he's focused on how close Cam is standing. I appreciate the vote of confidence, I say, trying to edge sideways, but I should really check on the. No need to be shy. Cam's hand lands on the counter beside me, effectively trapping me in place. I've been watching you, Kathryn. Your drive, your vision. We could do great things together. I think you're misunderstanding. Am I? His voice drops lower. I see how hard you work, how much you care about this place. Imagine what we could accomplish if we aligned our interests. The bell above the door chimes, and I glance over to see Nolan leaving, his shoulders rigid. My heart sinks. Excuse me. I duck under Cam's arm. Annie needs help with? Think about it. He catches my wrist, his grip just shy of too tight. We could make quite a team. Professionally speaking, of course. Though if things developed beyond that. I pull free. I'm not interested in any kind of partnership, Cam. Professional or otherwise. His smile hardens. No? Perhaps you prefer a more rustic type? I prefer focusing on my job. I grab a rag and start wiping down the already clean counter. Which right now means making sure these community initiatives succeed. Ah yes, community. He straightens his tie. Just remember who signs the paychecks around here. Community sentiment doesn't pay the bills. He strolls toward his office, leaving me feeling slightly nauseated. Through the window, I catch a glimpse of Nolan's truck pulling away, and my stomach twists further. You okay? Jake appears beside me, his usual smile replaced with concern. That looked intense. I'm fine. But my hands are shaking slightly as I fold the rag. I need to explain to Nolan. What you need, Jake says firmly, is backup. Next time Cam tries that, you're not facing him alone. It's not that simple. He's still the owner, and now Nolan probably thinks. Then tell him the truth. My hands clench around the rag I'm holding. I want to tell Cam exactly what I think of his partnership offers, want to knock that smug smile right off his face. But we're so close to turning this place around, to proving that community connection is what makes Coffee Loft special. One wrong move with Cam could derail everything we'd built here. I hate politics, I mutter. Ah. Jake's expression clears. The famous Kathryn Taylor temper, held in check by professional responsibility. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who's seen you demolish corporate brothers in meetings. He grins. Remember that guy who tried to eliminate local supplier partnerships? The memory makes me smile despite everything. He deserved that spreadsheet to the ego. My point is, you've got this. Handle Cam however you need to. But Nolan? Jake gives me a gentle push toward the door. He deserves the truth. No corporate politics, no careful diplomacy. Just truth. He's right. But as I gather my things to follow Nolan, I wonder if I'm ready to admit the truth to myself, that somewhere between community initiatives and wish walls, this mountain town and its most stubborn resident have become more than just another project to save. He's right. But as I gather my things to follow Nolan, I can't help wondering if I've already lost whatever was growing between us. Some misunderstandings are harder to fix than others. Even with a wall full of wishes behind you.
Chapter 10. Nolan. These need your approval. I place a stack of promotional materials on Aunt Edie's desk. Fall festival materials. Good morning to you too. She studies me over her reading glasses. You are in early. Lot to do before the weekend rush. I'm already heading for the door, needing the solitude of my office. She picks up the top flyer. Nothing to do with avoiding a certain coffee shop manager? Not avoiding. Busy. Through the office window, I spot a familiar figure walking up the lodge's front path. Kathryn's wearing that soft sweater again, the one that makes her look like she's always belonged in Elk Ridge. After yesterday, seeing her with Cam, I'm not interested in competing for her attention. I've been down that road before. Nolan? Connor's voice carries from the front desk. Kathryn's here about the Harvest Festival coordination. Handle it. I focus on the quarterly reports spread across my desk. You know the layout as well as I do. You're really going with this strategy? It's not a strategy. I meet his gaze steadily. It's a decision. Through the wall, I can hear Kathryn's voice mixing with Aunt Edie's. Something about vendor arrangements and community involvement. She's good at what she does. She'll do fine without my input. Want to talk about it? Connor asks. Nothing to talk about. Right. He crosses his arms. That's why you're suddenly fascinated by last quarter's numbers. The numbers don't come with complications. No, he agrees. Just missed opportunities. Before I can respond, Kathryn's laugh drifts through the wall. Clear and genuine, like everything else about her. Which is exactly the problem. I thought you two were working well together, Connor says. The wishing wall is bringing people back to the coffee shop. The wishing wall is doing fine without my help. I start actually reading the reports, needing something concrete to focus on. She knows what she's doing. Do you? I think of Cam's proprietary air as he worked the crowd yesterday, the way he and Kathryn looked like the perfect corporate team. Some stories follow predictable patterns. A soft knock interrupts my thoughts. Kathryn stands in the doorway, professional but with an edge of determination that would be admirable if it wasn't so inconvenient. Sorry to interrupt, she says, though her tone suggests otherwise. I needed to check some details about the festival layout. Connor can handle it. I keep my voice neutral, my eyes on my work. I've got reports to finish. Right. Something flashes in her expression, not hurt, but challenge. Because quarterly numbers can't wait another 10 minutes. Connor wisely steps back, but I notice he doesn't leave completely. The festival planning is in good hands, I say. You and Cam seem to have everything under control yesterday. Understanding dawns in her eyes. Ah. So that's what this is about. This is about me having work to do. No. She takes a step into the office. This is about you jumping to conclusions. I don't need explanations, Kathryn. I meet her gaze directly. What you do with Cam is your business. You're right. Her voice is cool. It is my business. And if you're interested in actually knowing what that business is, you know where to find me. When you're done hiding behind quarterly reports. She turns on her heel, leaving me with the distinct feeling that I've miscalculated something. Well, Connor says from the doorway. That was masterfully handled. If by masterfully, you mean not at all. Don't you have tours to organize? Don't you have assumptions to reconsider? I watch through the window as Kathryn stops to admire the mountain laurel blooms, her shoulders straight and proud. No hint of the corporate climber I'm trying to convince myself she must be. You're being ridiculous, Aunt Edie announces from the doorway. Did everyone in this family forget how to knock? Did you forget everything you know about that girl? She moves to the window. Since when does Kathryn play corporate politics? People change. They do. She gives me a pointed look. Usually for the worse when they let fear make their decisions. I'm not afraid. But the words taste false. I'm being practical. No, you're being stubborn. And letting old wounds cloud your judgment. She heads for the door but pauses. You know what your mother used to say about assumptions? Please, not now. She said they're like mountain storms. By the time you realize you're wrong, you've already missed the sunshine. She leaves me with my reports and my certainly not fear. Outside, Connor is showing Kathryn the festival layout. She's taking notes on that tablet of hers, every inch the capable professional she is. Except for how she handles each interaction with genuine care. How she remembers every vendor's name. How she's nothing like what I'm trying to convince myself she is. I turn back to my desk, but the numbers blur in front of me. Some decisions are harder to stick to than others. I spend the afternoon doing things that definitely don't need my personal attention. Reorganizing the supply closet. Double-checking reservation confirmations. Teaching Lisa, our newest desk clerk, the proper way to fold towels. Thanks? She eyes the stack of perfectly folded linens. Though I'm pretty sure guests don't actually measure the corners. Details matter. Right. She shares a look with Jameson, who's been watching me with barely concealed amusement. Is this about why Kathryn left looking like she wanted to throw something? He asks. Don't you have activities to coordinate? Actually, Jameson leans against the counter. I thought we could talk about why you're hiding in the linen closet instead of helping plan the Harvest Festival. I'm not hiding. I'm working. You color-coded the guest information packets. He picks one up. Twice. Before I can defend the importance of proper organization, Aunt Edie appears. Nolan, would you help me with something in the garden? It's not a request. I follow her out to the terrace, where the mountain laurel blooms are fading but still beautiful. She settles onto a bench, patting the space beside her. I'm actually pretty busy. Sit. I sit. Connor tells me you spent an hour this morning explaining the proper way to stack firewood. My cousin has been running his mouth. Not that I'm surprised. Nolan. Her voice gentles. What are you doing? My job. No. She gestures to the mountains beyond, painted in late afternoon light. You're doing what you always do when something matters too much. You're burying yourself in details so you don't have to look at the bigger picture. There is no bigger picture. But even I don't believe it anymore. It's business. The festival, the coffee shop, all of it. Is that what you told yourself when you wrote that wish? I start. How did you? I didn't. Her eyes twinkle. But you just confirmed my suspicion. Sometimes I forget how crafty she can be. It doesn't matter anyway. I stand, needing to move. Kathryn has her plans, her partnership with Cam. She doesn't need my help. Partnership? Aunt Edie's voice sharpens. Is that what you think is happening? I know what I saw. Do you? She rises, touching my arm. Or do you see what you're afraid of seeing? I'm not afraid. No? Her grip tightened slightly. Then why are you organizing linen closets instead of talking to her? Because talking means explaining. Because explaining means admitting that watching her with Kim felt like losing something I never had permission to want. Your mother was just like you know. Aunt Edie's voice softens with memory. Always so sure she knew how stories would end. Until your father proved her wonderfully wrong. This isn't a love story? Her smile is knowing. Maybe not. But it could be something real if you'd stop folding towels long enough to find out. She leaves me with the fading light and her two accurate words. The mountains stretch endless before me, painted in shades of purple and gold as the sun sets. Somewhere in town, a coffee shop is probably closing for the day. A wall of wishes is waiting to be read, including one I wrote too high for anyone to reach. The evening air carries the scent of pine and wood smoke, reminding me of Kathryn's soft sweater, her genuine laugh, the way she looks at this town like it's something precious. The way she looked at me before I convinced myself to look away. Maybe Aunt Edie's right. Maybe I am afraid. But some fears are easier to face than the possibility of watching another person you care about choose someone else.
Chapter 11. Kathryn. We granted 27 wishes this week. I make another note on my tablet. And I'm guessing it's even more community connections formed. The numbers are impressive, but they feel hollow this morning. The coffee shop hums with its usual activity. Annie crafts lattes, regulars check the wall for new wishes, and old Joe in his corner shows off his first attempt at knitting. Everything's working exactly as planned. So why does success taste like black coffee gone cold? My phone sits silent beside my tablet. No response to my text about vendor arrangements for the Harvest Festival. No trademark dry comments about corporate efficiency. No Nolan. Earth to Kathryn. Jake drops into the chair across from me. You've been staring at that same spreadsheet for 10 minutes. I'm analyzing data. You're brooding. I don't brood. But I find myself glancing at the door again, like a certain flannel-wearing marketing expert might materialize if I wish hard enough. I'm just thinking. About why Mountain Man's been MIA since the farmer's market? I close my tablet with more force than necessary. He's busy with the lodge. Weekend rush, remember? Right. Jake's voice drips skepticism. That's why you keep checking your phone like it might explode. I'm expecting an email from corporate. And I'm expecting to sprout wings. He leans forward. What happened? Nothing happened. That's the problem. I fidget with my coffee cup. 1 minute we're planning events, talking about community connections, and the next he's practically running away when I stop by the lodge. Men are idiots, says the man. Exactly. I speak from experience. He grins, but his eyes are serious. Though sometimes we have reasons for our idiocy. Before I can ask what he means, Cam emerges from his office. He's traded his usual suit for designer casual wear, looking like a GQ spread on rustic chic. Numbers looking good? He stops at our table, standing just a fraction too close. Very. I angle my tablet away from his gaze. The wishing wall is exceeding expectations. Just like its creator. His smile doesn't quite reach his eyes. We should celebrate. Dinner, perhaps? Discuss future initiatives. Actually, I'm pretty booked with event planning. I gesture to my work spread across the table. But thanks. Another time, then. He trails his fingers across the back of my chair as he moves away. My door's always open. I suppress a shudder. Want me to accidentally spill his next latte? Jake offers once Cam's out of earshot. Tempting, but no. I gather my things, needing to move. I'm going to check the wall. The wishing wall has evolved since its installation. People have started adding small photos, drawings, even pressed flowers, to their cards. Each wish tells a story. Looking for gardening advice, my tomatoes need help. Need tips for making the perfect pie crust. Seeking chess partners for Tuesday afternoon games. Need help organizing grandma's photo albums before Christmas. I add a few blank cards to the basket, straightening ones that have gone crooked. A child's crayon drawing catches my eye, a wobbly house, with "Thank you for helping Mom" scrawled beneath it. This is what matters. This is what makes Coffee Loft special. This is what Nolan helped create, whether he wants to acknowledge it now or not. My phone buzzes. For a moment, hope flares, but it's just corporate requesting another progress report. Hey. Sophia appears beside me, camera in hand. Want to help me document some wish stories? I'm thinking of doing a photo series about connections made. Sure. I welcome the distraction. Though shouldn't we wait for your better half? Jake's got a foundation meeting. She starts setting up her shot. Besides, I think you could use the company. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who's been watching you keep an eye on the door all morning. She adjusts her lens. Want to talk about it? Nothing to talk about. I straighten another wish card. Sometimes people withdraw. And sometimes they need a push to explain why. She snaps a photo of old Joe, teaching a teenager about local fishing spots. Jake was like that at first. So sure he knew how stories would end, he almost missed his own. Nolan's not Jake. No. She reviews her shot. He's acting like someone who's been hurt before, watching history apparently repeat itself. I think of his abrupt exit from the farmer's market, how he wouldn't meet my eyes at the lodge. What do you mean, apparently? But Sophia's already focused on her next shot, leaving me to puzzle over her words. The morning crowd starts thinning, regulars heading to work, with promises to check their matched wishes later. I add a few more blank cards to the basket, my fingers lingering on the soft paper. A note card catches my eye, pinned high above the others. The handwriting is familiar, but the card is just out of reach. Just like its author. My tablet chimes with another corporate email, but for once, I let it wait. Instead, I pull out a blank wish card, turning it over in my hands. So, Jake says, sliding into our usual corner booth at Miller's Bakery, are we going to talk about why you're mainlining Sarah's cinnamon rolls? I look down at the half-eaten pastry in front of me. They're good for market research. Uh-huh. Sophia settles in beside him. And the fact that this booth has a perfect view of Mountain Laurel Lodge's entrance is just coincidence? Complete coincidence. But I find myself checking the door again, watching for a familiar truck. I needed a break from the coffee shop. From the coffee shop, or from Cam's casual chats with you? Jake's voice carries an edge. I tear my roll into smaller pieces. He's being enthusiastic about our success. He's being inappropriate, Sophia corrects gently. And you're letting him, because you're worried about the coffee shop. I'm handling it. By hiding at Sarah's? I'm not hiding. But even I don't believe it anymore. I just need to figure out how to maintain professional boundaries without compromising everything we've built. And that's the only thing bothering you? Jake raises an eyebrow. Nothing to do with a certain mountain man turned marketing expert who's suddenly too busy to return texts. The cinnamon roll turns to ash in my mouth. Nolan made his choice clear. Did he? Sophia leans forward. Or did he see something that made him jump to conclusions? I think back to the farmer's market, to Cam's hovering presence, to Nolan's abrupt departure. Oh. There it is. Jake grins. The famous Kathryn Taylor lightbulb moment. But that's ridiculous. Cam was being Cam. Surely Nolan doesn't think. Men, Sophia says wisely, are remarkably unobservant when their emotions are involved. Hey. Jake protests. You thought I was interested in that artist who did the mural. He kept asking to take you out to dinner. Because he was hoping for exposure and free marketing. I laugh despite myself, but my eyes drift back to the lodge. Even if that's true, Nolan's made it pretty clear he doesn't want to discuss it. Since when do you let other people's walls stop you? Jake's voice gentles. The Kathryn I know would march right up there and demand answers. The Kathryn you know wasn't trying to save a coffee shop while managing a handsy boss. No, Sophia agrees, but she never let fear of complications stop her from fighting for what matters. I'm not afraid. They both give me identical looks of disbelief. Okay, fine. I push away my mangled cinnamon roll. Maybe I'm a little afraid. Happy? Ecstatic, Jake deadpants. Now, what are you going to do about it? What can I do? Nolan barely looks at me, Cam will back off, and the coffee shop is thriving, Sophia interrupts. Thanks to you. Thanks to your vision and your heart and your refusal to give up on what matters. She's right. Jake covers my hand with his. The coffee shop will be fine. But you won't be if you keep letting Cam make you uncomfortable and Nolan make you doubt yourself. I don't doubt myself. No? Sophia's smile is knowing. Then why haven't you written your own wish yet? I start to protest, then stop. I've started to, but she's right. I've been so busy helping others' wishes come true, I haven't dared to acknowledge my own. What would you wish for? Jake asks softly. Through the window, I catch a glimpse of flannel and dark hair. It's Nolan, heading toward his truck. He pauses, looking toward the bakery, and for a moment our eyes meet through the glass. Then he's gone, and I'm left with the ghost of what could have been. I'd wish, I say slowly, for the courage to fight for what matters. All of it. The coffee shop, this town. I take a deep breath. And whatever this thing with Nolan could be, if we both stopped being so stubborn. Now that, Sophia says, sounds like the Kathryn we know. But Cam needs clear boundaries, Jake finishes. And if he can't respect them, that's a corporate HR issue, not a reflection on you. They're right. About all of it. The coffee shop is more than Cam's agenda. The community is more than corporate metrics. And Nolan is worth fighting for. Okay. I stand, straightening my shoulders. I need a wish card. That's my girl. Jake grins. Going to write your heart out? No. I gather my things, determination replacing uncertainty. I'm going to climb a ladder and read whatever ridiculously high wish someone left on my wall. And then? I think of Nolan's quiet strength, his dedication to this town, the way he looks at me when he thinks I don't notice. And then I'm going to prove that some wishes are worth fighting for.
Chapter 12. Nolan. The lodge kitchen is my refuge on busy days. Something about the rhythm of inventory and preparation settles my mind. Today, I'm organizing supplies for tomorrow's breakfast service, letting the mundane task of counting coffee cups drown out thoughts of other coffee-related matters. You wish you had the courage to trust again. The familiar voice freezes me mid-count. Kathryn stands in the doorway, holding a wrinkled wish card I distinctly remember pinning well out of reach. Borrowed a ladder, she says, answering my unspoken question. Though you could have saved me the trouble by just talking to me. I'm kind of busy here. I turn back to the cups, though I've lost count completely. Yeah, these coffee cups look pretty demanding. She steps into the kitchen, closing the door behind her. Almost as demanding as avoiding someone for days. I haven't been avoiding. Don't. Her voice catches. Don't lie to me, Nolan. Not after this. She holds up the card. Not after everything. I force myself to look at her. She's wearing that soft sweater again, the one that makes her look like she belongs here. But her eyes are fierce, challenging. It was just a wish, I say finally. Part of the demonstration. Really? She moves closer. So you regularly write about trust issues on community wish walls? What do you want from me, Kathryn? I want to understand what happened. One day we're planning events, talking about community, making something special. The next you can barely look at me. Nothing happened. I start restacking cups with more force than necessary. We worked together on some events. They were successful. End of story. Is that what you really think? She's close enough now that I can smell her vanilla-scented shampoo. That all this was just business? Wasn't it? The words taste bitter. You and Cam seem pretty clear on the business aspects. Understanding dawns in her eyes. So that's what this is about. You saw Cam. I saw exactly what I needed to see. A cup clatters to the counter. You two make a perfect corporate team. You're wrong. But there's more hurt than heat in her voice. And if you actually believe that, then you never knew me at all. I know enough. I grip the edge of the counter, needing something solid. I know how these stories go. Corporate partnerships, strategic alliances. Stop it! She slams the wish card down between us. You don't get to rewrite what happened to fit your assumptions. You want to know what really happened with Cam? He made unwanted advances that I've been professionally deflecting because I'm trying to save a coffee shop that means something to this town. To you. The knot in my chest tightens. Kathryn. But you didn't bother to ask, did you? You just decided you knew better. Decided to pull away. To stop trusting. She picks up the card again. Guess your wish came true, just not the way you meant it. That's not fair. No? Her voice wavers. Then tell me what is fair, Nolan. Tell me why you really wrote this wish. Tell me why you've been avoiding me. Tell me something real. I look at her, really look at her, and see the truth I've been avoiding. There's no corporate calculation in her eyes. No strategic alliance. Just hurt and hope and a challenge I'm suddenly terrified to answer. I can't. The words come out harder than intended. Some things are better left as business. She steps back like I've struck her. Right. Business. She straightens her shoulders, and I watch the warmth drain from her expression. Thank you for clarifying our professional relationship. I won't make the mistake of assuming anything more. Kathryn, wait. But she's already gone, taking her vanilla scent and her soft sweater and her ability to make me question everything I thought I knew with her. Through the kitchen window, I watch her cross the parking lot. She doesn't look back. Doesn't see me pick up the wish card she left behind. Doesn't hear me curse my own stubbornness. You wished you had the courage to trust again. The words mock me now, written in my own hand. Some wishes come true in the worst possible ways. The mountains disappear first when night falls, becoming shadows against a darker sky. The trees go next, their individual shapes melting into a mass of black. But the stars, they come alive, one by one, until the sky above Mountain Laurel Lodge glitters like broken glass on velvet. I'm cataloging these changes from my spot on the front porch, a crumpled wish card still clutched in my hand, when Aunt Edie appears with 2 steaming mugs. Your mother used to do this too. She settles into the rocker beside me. Whenever something was weighing on her, she'd sit out here and watch the night come in. I'm just getting some air. She passes me a mug. And that's why you've been out here since Kathryn left? Just enjoying the evening breeze? The tea is her special blend, herbs from her garden, steeped in memory and meaning. I messed up. Yes. Her rocker creaks softly. Though I suspect you knew that even before she confronted you with your own wish. I look up sharply. How did you? Small town. She sips her tea. And Lisa has excellent hearing. Of course she does. Want to tell me why you're out here brooding instead of fixing it? I'm not brooding. No? She gestures to the wish card I'm slowly destroying. Just redesigning paper products? The mountain night wraps around us, cricket song and owl calls filling the silence. In the distance, a whippoorwill starts its evening chorus. I thought. The words stick in my throat. When I saw her with Cam, I thought it was happening again. Corporate partnerships, strategic alliances. They make their money and they leave. Ah, that's what this is really about, Aunt Edie says. You're afraid of being left behind. And it was easier to push her away than risk being wrong? Than risk watching her leave. The admission costs me something. Everyone leaves eventually. When they get what they came for. Aunt Edie's quiet for a long moment. Did I ever tell you about the first time your mother met your father? Only about 1,000 times. Then you'll remember she almost didn't give him a chance. There's a gentle understanding in her voice. She was so sure he'd leave once the novelty of mountain life wore off, she nearly pushed him away first. Until he proved her wrong. No. She sets down her tea. Until she was brave enough to risk being proven right, and discovered she was wonderfully wrong instead. The wish card is barely legible now, wrinkled and worn by restless fingers. It's not the same. Isn't it? She reaches over, smoothing the card gently. You wish for courage to trust again. But trust isn't about being certain. It's about being brave enough to risk uncertainty. I saw how she looked at me before she left. The memory twists in my chest. Like I'd confirmed every bad thing she tried not to believe about me. Then prove her wrong. How? The word comes out rougher than intended. How do I fix something I broke because I was too scared to believe it could be real? By being honest. Aunt Edie's voice gentles. With her, and with yourself. About what? About why you really wrote that wish. About why seeing her with Kim hurt so much. About why you're sitting out here in the dark instead of sleeping. The whippoorwill's call echoes across the valley, lonely and persistent. She deserves better, I say finally. Better than someone who runs at the first sign of complication. Probably. Aunt Edie stands, gathering our mugs. But she wants you. Complications and all. The question is, are you brave enough to want her back? She leaves me with the night and the crickets and the truth I've been avoiding since I pinned that wish too high for anyone to reach. I pull out my phone, thumb hovering over Kathryn's name. But what do you say when sorry isn't enough? When you need to explain why you built walls so high even you can't see over them anymore? The wish card catches a breeze, nearly escaping. I smooth it flat, reading my own words in the porch light. You wished you had the courage to trust again. Maybe trust starts with admitting you were wrong. Maybe courage starts with being willing to fall. Maybe some wishes don't come true until you're brave enough to help them along. I stand, pocketing the card and my pride. The night stretches dark before me, but for the first time since Kathryn left, I know exactly where I'm going. Some risks are worth taking. Even if you have to climb down from your self-built walls to take them.
Chapter 13. Kathryn. Cam doesn't look up when I enter his office, too engrossed in whatever's on his phone screen. His feet are propped on his sleek desk, his designer shoes probably worth more than a week's coffee sales. We need to talk. I close the door behind me with more force than necessary. About the latest numbers? He doesn't bother looking up. Because they're still not where they need to be. About your actual plans for this place. I move to stand directly in front of his desk. Because I'm starting to think we have very different visions. That gets his attention. He lowers his phone, studying me with that calculating smile that never quite reaches his eyes. Different visions? The wishing wall is working. Community engagement is up. We're building something real here. We're running a business. He drops his feet to the floor, leaning forward. All this community focus is charming, but let's be realistic. Elk Ridge isn't exactly a growth market. Growth isn't just about numbers. Actually, he stands, moving to the window, it is. And the numbers tell me it's time to cut our losses. The words hit like ice water. What? Come on, Kathryn. He turns back, spreading his hands. Did you really think I'd stick around this backwater town forever? Running a quaint little coffee shop while the real opportunities pass me by? This isn't just a coffee shop. My voice shakes slightly. These people trust us. They've made this place part of their community. And they can make somewhere else part of their community just as easily. He shrugs. That's the beauty of small towns. they adapt. You're selling. The realization settles like lead in my stomach. That's why you let me try all these initiatives. You wanted to boost the sale value. His smile turns patronizing. Smart girl. Though I did hope you might be interested in other opportunities. Your talent is wasted on community projects. My talent is exactly where it should be. I gesture toward the main room, where Annie's helping old Joe pin up another wish. We're making a difference here. Difference doesn't pay the bills. He returns to his desk, shuffling through papers. I've already had interest from several buyers. Major chains looking to expand their mountain presence. Chains? The word tastes bitter. You turn this into another generic coffee stop? I'd turn it into a profitable business. He pulls out a folder labeled potential buyers and sets it deliberately on his desk. Which is more than your wish walls and farmers markets have managed. Our numbers are improving. Not fast enough. He checks his watch, dismissing me. Face it, Kathryn. Elk Ridge is a stepping stone, nothing more. Smart people know when to step off. The sunlight catches on the wishing wall, turning the cards to stained glass. Through the office window, I can see Marie arranging fresh flowers on the counter, Sarah delivering her daily pastries, locals gathering to check their wishes. You're wrong. My voice steadies. About this town, about this place, about everything. Am I? His smile turns sharp. Then why is your mountain man avoiding you? Even he knows better than to invest in lost causes. The jab lands, but I refuse to let him see it. You never intended to make this work, did you? All that talk about community partnerships, about believing in local businesses, was excellent PR. He opens his laptop, clearly done with the conversation. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a call with an interested buyer. I leave his office on legs that barely feel steady, the reality of his betrayal settling like ash in my mouth. The main room seems different now, tainted by the knowledge that all of this, the wishes, the connections, the community we're building, means nothing to him. A flash of movement catches my eye. Through the front windows, I spot a familiar truck pulling into the parking lot. Nolan steps out, something clutched in his hand, his expression determined. But I can't face him. Not now. Not with Cam's words still ringing in my ears and the taste of failure bitter on my tongue. I slip out the back door, leaving Annie to tell him I'm gone. I fold another sweater, the soft one that's become my favorite. Funny how quickly a place can slip under your skin until leaving feels like tearing something vital. My suitcase looks exactly like it did when I arrived, but I'm not the same person who pulled into Mountain Laurel Lodge wearing impractical heels and corporate armor. Not after seeing how much a coffee shop could matter to a town. Not after watching wishes bring strangers together. Not after learning how certain blue eyes could see straight through carefully constructed defenses. A stack of paper slides from my tablet case, notes, plans, dreams for what the Coffee Loft could be. Among them, a wrinkled wish card catches my attention. The crayon writing is wobbly, earnest. I wish for more places to play with my friends after school. Mom works late and the library is boring. We'd already started planning after-school events. Board game nights. Homework clubs with volunteer tutors. Stories waiting to unfold, now destined to remain wishes. A knock interrupts my spiral. Kathryn? May I come in? Evie. Of course she'd know something was wrong. She probably has some mountain saying about the way bad news travels on the evening breeze. It's open. She takes in the half-packed suitcase, the scattered papers, my probably red eyes. Going somewhere? Back to Wilmington. I drop a handful of papers into the trash. There's nothing left for me to do here. Evie's shoulders drop slightly, and she touches one of the wish cards on my bed, smoothing its crumpled edge with gentle fingers. The gesture reminds me so much of how she tends her garden, careful, patient, nurturing things until they bloom. I failed. The words scrape my throat. All of it, the community initiatives, the wishing wall, everything. Cam's selling the coffee shop. Ah. She settles into the room's armchair. And you're letting him? Letting him? It's his business, Evie. He's already talking to buyers. Major chains looking to expand their mountain presence. I say it in Cam's smug tone, the words still bitter. And that's enough to make you run? I'm not running. But my hands shake as I fold another sweater. I'm being realistic. Cam never intended for any of this to work. He wanted to boost the sale value. So proving him right is the answer? What else can I do? I gesture to my scattered plans. I can't buy the place myself. I can't stop him from selling to whatever chain makes the highest offer. I can't, my voice catches. I can't save it. Maybe, Evie says gently, it's not about saving something alone. I think of Nolan, of his withdrawal, of the way he looked at me in the lodge kitchen. I don't have anyone else. Don't you? She picks up the child's wish card. Seems to me you've built quite a community here. People who believe in what you're creating. People who might be willing to fight alongside you, if you'd let them. It's not that simple. No, she agrees. It's probably much harder. But then, most things worth fighting for are. The sunset paints the mountains in shades of farewell. How many more of these will I see? I don't know how, I admit finally. I don't know how to fight this. You didn't know how to make wishes come true either. Evie stands, smoothing her skirt. But you figured that out. That was different. Was it? She moves to the door, but pauses. You know, when Claire, Nolan's mother, got sick, everyone told her to be realistic. To accept what was coming. Know what she did instead? I shake my head. She planned a garden. Said she might not be here to see it bloom, but that wasn't the point. Evie's eyes are soft with memory. The point was believing in something beautiful, even when it seemed impossible. She leaves me with that, with the mountains and a wrinkled wish card covered in crayon dreams. I pick up another sweater, but instead of folding it, I hold it close. It smells like coffee and mountain air and possibility. Cam thinks Elk Ridge is just a stepping stone. But maybe some stones are meant to be foundations instead. Maybe some wishes are worth fighting for, even when you don't know how to make them come true. Maybe some places, and some people, are worth staying for. I look at the half-packed suitcase, at my scattered plans, at the child's wish still clutched in my hand. Claire believed in planting hope, even when everything seemed impossible. Time to make an impossible wish of my own.
Chapter 14. Nolan. Sign here. I push the delivery form towards Sarah Miller, barely glancing up from the festival layout plans spread across my desk. And here. You know, Sarah says, signing with a flourish, you could at least pretend to be excited about my new maple scones. They look great. You wouldn't even know if I brought empty boxes. You haven't actually looked at them. She's right. I've been buried in work since my conversation with Kathryn, trying to drown out her hurt expression with vendor contracts and event schedules. Sorry. I finally meet her eyes. I've been distracted. Clearly. She settles into the chair across from me, making no move to leave. Though probably not as distracted as Cam's been lately. All those meetings with fancy-suited people from out of town. Something in her tone makes me look up sharply. What meetings? Oh, you haven't heard? She leans forward. Beth from the market saw him showing some corporate types around yesterday. Talking about modernization and untapped potential. And Marie said she overheard him on the phone this morning, discussing sale prices. The festival plans blur in front of me. Sale prices? Apparently he's selling to some big coffee chain. Sarah's voice turns bitter. Because clearly what this town needs is another generic coffee stop. Though I guess that means I'll need to find somewhere else to sell my scones. But I'm barely listening. All I can think about is Kathryn. Kathryn, who believed in wishes. Kathryn, who fought for community. Kathryn, who looked at a struggling coffee shop and saw possibility. Kathryn, who I pushed away because I was too afraid to admit she mattered. When? My voice sounds strange even to me. When is he selling? Soon, from what I heard. Beth said the suits were talking about quick turnaround and minimal disruption. Sarah stands, gathering her things. Shame, really. Just when it was starting to feel special again. Special. Like the way Kathryn's eyes lit up when a wish came true. Like her laugh during storytelling night. Like the quiet moments between events when she watched the community she was building, pride and purpose radiating from every inch of her. Like the way she made me believe in impossible things. I have to go. I'm already standing, papers scattering. Now. Sarah blinks. But the festival plans can wait. I grab my keys, my jacket. Some things can't. I take the lodge stairs 2 at a time, my mind racing faster than my feet. All those moments I wasted pushing her away. All those chances I had to tell her the truth, not just about Cam, but about how she makes this town feel more alive. About how she makes me feel more alive. Her room is empty when I reach it. The bed is made, the desk cleared. No laptop, no tablet, none of the papers usually scattered across every surface. She checked out an hour ago. Lisa's voice makes me turn. She stands in the doorway, concern etched on her face. I tried to tell you earlier, but you were busy with the festival plans. Did she say where? Just that she was leaving. Lisa twists her hands. I'm sorry, Nolan. I'm back in my truck before I realize I'm moving, gravel spraying as I turn toward town. The coffee loft is dark, closed early for the first time since Kathryn arrived. Through the window, I can see the wishing wall, wishes still waiting to come true. My phone shows no messages, no missed calls. Only silence where her name should be. The porch light flickers on as dusk settles over the mountains, and there she is. Kathryn sits curled in one of the rocking chairs scattered around the porch of the lodge, notebook in her lap, her tablet propped against the railing. Relief hits me so hard I have to grip the doorframe. You're here. She looks up, startled. Where else would I be? Lisa said. I stop, pieces clicking into place. Lisa said you checked out. Oh. Kathryn tucks a strand of hair behind her ear. Evie moved me to cabin for this afternoon. Said I might be more comfortable there, since I'd been living out of a suitcase in the suite. I guess Lisa didn't get the message. The simple explanation makes my panic feel foolish. But seeing her empty room, thinking she'd left without a word. Can we talk? I move closer, careful, like she might disappear if I move too fast. She closes her notebook. About what happened in the kitchen, or about him selling the coffee shop. You know about that? He told me this afternoon. Her voice is steady, but I catch the hurt underneath. Right before he suggested I cut my losses and move on. That's not going to happen. I settle into the chair next to hers. You leaving, I mean. Not if I can help it. She studies me for a long moment. Yesterday you could barely look at me. Today you don't want me to leave. That's quite a change of heart. Not a change. I force myself to meet her gaze. More like finally being honest about what was already there. The porch light casts soft shadows across her face, reminding me of that first evening when she arrived at the lodge. When possibility felt as endless as the mountain view. I'm sorry, I say quietly. About how I acted. About letting old wounds cloud my judgment. Old wounds? The winter festival wasn't the first time Kim betrayed someone's trust. The words come easier than I expected. 3 years ago, when he bought the franchise, my family offered to help with the transition. We knew the community, understood what made the coffee shop special. What happened? Cam smiled and nodded and ignored every suggestion. Then he started changing things. Local suppliers were too expensive. Community events weren't efficient. The hazelnut macchiato Mom loved. I swallow hard. It didn't fit the standardized menu. but it's still on the menu. Because someone insisted that at least a few local specialties stay. The only time Kim ever listened to anyone. I laugh without humor. When I saw him with you at the farmer's market, it felt like history repeating. Another corporate partnership, another round of promises that would end in people leaving. I'm not Kim. Her voice is soft but firm. I know. I turned to face her fully. I'd known that since the first time I saw you reading wishes on that wall. Since I watched you fight for this community like it was your own. I got scared. Of what? Of caring too much. Of watching you leave once you got what you came for. The admission costs me something, but she deserves the truth. But the thought of you leaving now, without knowing how much you matter here, how much you matter to me, that's scarier than any risk. She's quiet for so long I wonder if I've said too much. Then, I thought you didn't want anything more than a professional relationship. I was an idiot. Yes. But there's a hint of a smile in her voice. You were. Let me help you fight for the coffee shop. I reach for her hand, relief flooding through me when she doesn't pull away. We can use the lodge's connections, rally the community. My family knows every business owner in 3 counties. It might not be enough. Then we'll find another way. I squeeze her fingers gently. But you don't have to do it alone. She looks down at our joined hands. Why now? Why tonight? Because I finally realized some things are worth the risk. I trace my thumb across her knuckles. Some people are worth being brave for. The mountain night wraps around us, cricket song and starlight and possibilities restored. Kathryn's hand is warm in mine, and when she meets my eyes again, I see something that looks like hope. I can't promise it will work, she says softly. I'm not asking for promises. I lift our joined hands, pressing a gentle kiss to her fingers. I'm just asking for a chance. To help save what matters. To prove that not everyone leaves. She catches her breath, and for a moment I think I've gone too far. Then she shifts her hand in mine, interlacing our fingers. Okay. Okay? Okay, I'll let you help. A real smile tugs at her lips. But if you ever pull that cold shoulder act again. Never. I lean closer, drawn by the warmth in her eyes. I'm done running from good things.
Chapter 15. Kathryn. The night air wraps around us like a blanket, warm with possibility. Nolan's hand is still wrapped around mine, his thumb tracing patterns that make it hard to think clearly. Part of me wants to stay in this moment, before reality crashes back in with coffee shop sales and corporate decisions. I thought I might find you two out here. We both start at Evie's voice. She stands in the doorway carrying a tea tray, looking entirely too pleased with herself. Don't get up. She settles into the chair across from us, and I notice she's brought 3 cups. Almost like she planned this. Though you might want this. Mountain nights get cool. She passes us steaming mugs of her special blend, the herbs filling the air with memories of other conversations on this porch. Other moments when she seemed to know exactly what we needed. I suppose you've heard about Cam's plans? She pours her own tea with deliberate care. We were just discussing it. Nolan's voice carries an edge of protective steel that makes my heart flutter. Well. Evie sets down the teapot with purpose. I have some plans of my own. I've made an offer to buy the Coffee Loft. The words don't register at first. Then they hit all at once. You're what? I spent the afternoon with my lawyer, drawing up the paperwork. She looks entirely too calm for someone dropping this kind of bomb. Cam seemed quite eager to negotiate once I mentioned a quick sale. The words don't register at first. Then they hit all at once. You're what? Buying it. She looks entirely too calm for someone dropping this kind of bomb. But. I look between her and Nolan, who appears as shocked as I feel. Why? Because some things matter more than profit margins. She picks up her tea again. The Callahans have been part of this community for generations. That coffee shop was always special. A place where people connected, where the community came together. When Cam bought it, we lost that magic. But you've brought it back, Kathryn. You've reminded us all of what it could be. A community hub, Nolan says softly. Exactly. Evie's eyes crinkle with warmth. And who better to run it than someone who understands both the business and the heart of what makes places like this special? It takes me a moment to realize she means me. But I have already proven yourself more than capable. She holds up a hand to stop my protest. The wishing wall alone has brought more people together than any initiative we've tried in years. That wasn't just me. I glance at Nolan, who's watching me with an intensity that makes my chest tight. Everyone helped. And they'll keep helping. Evie leans forward. That's what community means. But every community needs someone to believe in it first. To fight for it, even when others don't see its potential. Like you did, Nolan says, and I hear pride in his voice. The coffee shop still has challenges, I warn. The equipment needs updating, the supply chain needs work. All things the lodge's resources can help with. Evie's smile turns mysterious. Especially with a certain marketing expert's assistance. Nolan's hand tightens around mine. I think we can arrange that. The mountain night stretches endless above us, stars scattered like wishes waiting to be granted. Below, the lights of Elk Ridge twinkle, a constellation of community and connection. Why me? I ask finally. Why trust me with this? Because you already love it. Evie stands, gathering her tray. Everything else is just details. She leaves us with that, with the night and the tea and the weight of possibility settling around our shoulders. But before either of us can speak, she pauses in the doorway. Oh, and one more thing. Her eyes twinkle in the porch light. There is a condition to my offer. But that can wait until we've all had a chance to process this first part. The door closes behind her, leaving me with 1,000 questions and Nolan's steady presence beside me. His hand is still warm in mine, an anchor in a sea of unexpected possibilities. The scent of freshly brewed coffee fills the lodge's great room, rich and promising. Evie has gathered us here early, before the guests wake, before the day's bustle begins. Before reality has a chance to make last night's offer feel like a dream. Now then. Evie settles into her favorite chair, steam rising from her cup in delicate spirals. Let's talk about that condition. Nolan shifts beside me on the leather sofa, our shoulders almost touching. The coffee table between us holds Evie's famous scones, but for once I'm too nervous to eat. The Coffee Loft needs more than new ownership, Evie continues. It needs leadership that understands both business and community. Vision and practicality. Heart and head. Her eyes move between us meaningfully. It needs both of you. The words hang in the morning air. Beside me, Nolan goes very still. Both of us? I manage. You've proven you can transform a struggling shop into a community hub. Evie sets down her cup. And Nolan knows this town, its rhythms, its needs. Together, you could make the Coffee Loft everything it was meant to be. The enormity of it overwhelms me. Not just running the shop, but working side by side with Nolan. After everything that's happened, everything that's still unresolved between us. It's a huge risk. For whom? Evie's voice gentles. For me? I'm investing in people I believe in. For the coffee shop? You've already shown what's possible there. For everyone. I stand, needing to move. What if I can't make it work? What if the community initiatives aren't enough? What if? What if you succeed? Nolan's quiet words stop my pacing. What if everything you've built here is just the beginning? I turn to face him. You'd really want to work together? After I let my fears get in the way? He stands too, closing the distance between us. I meant what I said last night. I'm done running from good things. But the shop already has a foundation. His eyes hold mine. You've created something special, Kathryn. Something worth believing in. Worth fighting for. We'd be partners? I look to Evie for confirmation. She nods. Equal stake in the management. Equal say in decisions. Though something tells me you two won't have trouble agreeing on what matters. The morning light streams through the windows, catching on the mountain laurel blooms outside. Somewhere in town, a coffee shop waits to be transformed. Again. But this time. It won't be easy, I warn them both. The equipment still needs updating, the supply chain is something we can figure out together. Nolan's voice carries absolute certainty. The lodge has connections with suppliers all over the region. And I might know a thing or two about marketing local businesses. A thing or two? Evie's eyes twinkle. If I recall, your seasonal festival campaigns doubled our bookings last year. The point is, Nolan continues, giving his aunt a look, you won't be doing this alone. Not anymore. I think of all the wishes already granted, all the connections formed. Of old Joe learning to knit, of Sarah's pastries finding new homes, of a community coming together one cup of coffee at a time. Okay. The word comes out barely above a whisper. Okay? Nolan's smile starts slow, then breaks across his face like sunrise. Okay. Stronger this time. Yes. Let's do this. Let's make it matter. It already matters. Evie rises, gathering her tea things. You two just have to keep showing people why. She leaves us with that, with the morning light and the endless possibilities and the weight of trust settled on our shoulders. Partners? Nolan holds out his hand, echoing our first meeting, but with something deeper in his eyes. I take it, feeling the calluses that speak of hard work and dedication. Of someone who builds things to last. Partners. His thumb traces across my knuckles, sending warmth up my arm. In everything? The question carries more than business implications, and we both know it. In everything. He tugs gently on our joined hands, drawing me closer. His other hand comes up to brush my cheek, and my breath catches at the tenderness in his touch. I've wanted to do this since you first walked into the lodge, he murmurs, his eyes dropping to my lips. Even in those impractical heels? His laugh is soft, warm. Especially in those heels. His eyes hold mine as he leans in slowly, giving me time to pull away if I want to. But I don't want to. I've never wanted anything less. My breath hitches as his hand slides from my cheek to the nape of my neck, fingers threading through my hair. The scent of him surrounds me. Coffee and pine and something uniquely Nolan that makes my heart race. When his lips finally meet mine, the gentleness of it makes me tremble. The kiss starts soft, questioning, but deepens when I press closer. His arms wrap around me, strong and sure, and I taste coffee and promise on his tongue. Everything narrows to this moment, the warmth of his mouth, the solid strength of him against me, the quiet sound he makes when my fingers curl into his shirt. When we finally part, we're both breathing harder. His forehead rests against mine, and I can feel his heart pounding where my hand rests on his chest. That was. He brushes another feather-light kiss across my lips. Worth waiting for? His smile is brighter than any mountain sunrise. Worth everything.
Chapter 16. Nolan. The scent of freshly ground coffee beans greets me as I unlock the Coffee Loft's door. Kathryn's already here, testing the newly repaired espresso machine, and the sight of her stops me in the doorway. She's wearing jeans and one of my flannel shirts, stolen from the back of my chair last night, with a kiss and a laugh. The sleeves are rolled up to her elbows, and her hair's pulled back in a messy ponytail. She's never looked more beautiful. Perfect timing. She doesn't turn around, but I hear the smile in her voice. Want to taste test our first official batch? Depends. I move closer, breathing in the rich aroma of properly brewed coffee. Is the expert barista taking special requests? Now she does turn, and the morning light catches the blush spreading across her cheeks. That depends on how nicely you ask. In that case, I move behind her, wrapping my arms around her waist. May I please have a hazelnut macchiato? She laughs, leaning back against my chest. Testing out the classics already? Seems right for our first morning. I press a kiss to her temple, breathing in the scent of coffee and hazelnut and possibility. Though I have some ideas for new specialty drinks too. Of course you do. She turns in my arms, gesturing to the papers spread across the counter. I've been thinking about the wall layout. What if we added a section here for fulfilled wishes? Show people it's not just about asking for help, it's about celebrating when it works. I study her design, loving how her mind works. Maybe add photos of the connections made? Yes. She turns quickly, almost knocking over her coffee in her excitement. I steady her cup, using the excuse to keep my hand on hers. And what if we partner with Marie for some kind of permanent display? Fresh flowers, maybe some of those vintage coffee cups she collects. She'd love that. I set her cup safely aside, then pull her off the ladder and into my arms. You're kind of amazing, you know that? Kind of? But she's smiling as she winds her arms around my neck. Definitely. I kiss her properly this time, tasting lodge coffee and possibility on her lips. Though you're also definitely a shirt thief. It looks better on me. Everything looks better on you. A throat clearing makes us jump apart. Sarah Miller stands in the doorway, basket of pastries in hand and eyebrows raised. Don't stop on my account. Her grin is wicked. Though you might want to save the quality control testing for after hours. Kathryn laughs, burying her face in my chest for a moment before stepping back. Early delivery today? Thought you might need fuel for all these changes I'm hearing about. Sarah sets down her basket. Though I didn't realize the changes included the management getting cozy. The management is just fine, I tell her, keeping one arm around Kathryn's waist. Sarah starts arranging pastries in the display case. That's why you're both grinning like teenagers and she's wearing your shirt. Did you bring the cranberry scones? Kathryn asks, clearly trying to change the subject. All your favorites. Sarah's expression softens. It's good to see this place coming back to life. Both the shop and... She gestures between us. Well, everything. As if on cue, Marie arrives with her flower deliveries, followed by old Joe who just happened to be passing by. Soon the shop is humming with morning preparations and community energy. We work side by side, setting up displays and rearranging furniture to make room for the expanded wishing wall. Kathryn handles each interaction with genuine warmth, and I find myself watching her more than the tasks at hand. You're staring again, she murmurs as we pin up the wishes granted section header. Can't help it. I adjust the banner slightly. You make this place shine. We make it shine. She reaches for another pushpin, her arm brushing mine. Though your marketing expertise might be slightly compromised by bias now. Nope. I catch her hand, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. Just better motivated. The morning unfolds in a blur of activity. Word spreads about the changes, bringing curious locals and regular customers alike. Beth from the market offers to host a weekly crafting circle. The high school art teacher suggests student exhibitions. Even old Joe volunteers to teach a class on local history. See? Kathryn's eyes sparkle as she adds another card to the wish wall. The magic was always here. It just needed the right people to believe in it. People like you. People like us. She turns in my arms, and when did I start holding her again? Thank you for believing in this. In me. Always. I rest my forehead against hers. Though you make it pretty easy. Even in corporate blazers? Even then. I brush my lips across hers. Though I prefer you in stolen flannel. Her laugh gets lost in another kiss, soft and sweet and full of coffee-flavored promises. The evening sun slips behind the mountains, leaving the coffee loft in the soft glow of the vintage lights we strung today. Kathryn sits beside me at our favorite corner table, her legs tucked under her, my flannel still draped around her shoulders. The wishing wall sparkles behind us, fairy lights turning each card into a beacon of hope. I'd forgotten how quiet it gets after closing. She traces the rim of her empty cup, looking contemplative. Back in Wilmington, there was always city noise filtering in. Miss it? No. She turns to face me, and something in her expression makes my heart skip. This feels more like home. I shift closer, letting my arm rest along the back of her chair. She leans into me naturally, like we've been doing this forever. I used to come here after school, I say quietly. Mr. Peterson would let me experiment with drink recipes while Mom graded papers. Said creative work needed quiet moments. Is that why you created the hazelnut macchiato? Mom loved hazelnuts. The memory warms instead of hurts. Said it reminded her of the mountains in fall. I worked on that recipe for weeks, wanting to surprise her. Every time someone orders it now, I think of her smile when I finally got it right. Kathryn's hand finds mine, our fingers weaving together. Tell me more? About what this place was like then? It was more than just a coffee shop. I play with her fingers as I talk. It was where everything happened. First dates, study sessions, community meetings. Old Joe would read stories to the kids every Saturday. Marie started her flower business with just one bucket by the door. And now they're all coming back. Because of you. She shakes her head. Because of us. Though sometimes. She hesitates. Sometimes I wonder if I can really do this. Make it last. Hey. I tuck a strand of hair behind her ear, letting my fingers linger against her cheek. You've already done the hardest part. Getting Elk Ridge to trust again? Getting me to trust again. She looks up at me through her lashes, and the vulnerability in her eyes makes me want to pull her closer, shelter her from every doubt. I never expected this, she whispers. To find somewhere that feels like it was waiting for me. Someone who feels like home? I finish when she trails off. She nods, and I feel her pulse flutter under my thumb where it rests against her wrist. You know what Mom used to say about home? I shift so I can see her better, memorizing the way the fairy lights catch in her eyes. She said it's not about the place. It's about the moment you realize you've found where you're supposed to be. And have you? Her voice is soft, intimate in the quiet shop. Found where you're supposed to be? Instead of answering, I lean in, pressing my forehead to hers. She sighs, a small sound of contentment that makes my chest tight with emotion. I wanted to hate you when you first arrived, I admit. This beautiful city girl in impractical shoes, here to change everything. She laughs softly. I wanted to prove you wrong so badly. You did. I brush my nose against hers. About everything. About what this place could be. About what I could feel. Her free hand comes up to rest against my chest, right over my heartbeat. Nolan. I'm falling in love with you, I whisper against her lips. Think that wish can come true too? Her answer is a kiss, soft and sweet and full of promise. When she pulls back, her eyes are shining. Some wishes, she says, come true the moment you make them. Outside, the mountain night deepens to velvet. Inside, the wishing wall glows with possibilities. And here, in this quiet corner of a coffee shop that feels more like destiny than business, I hold everything I never knew I was wishing for.
Chapter 17. Kathryn. 2 hazelnut macchiatos, 1 maple scone, and Annie glances at her notepad. 3 wishes waiting to be pinned up. The wall's getting full again. I hand her the lattes, smiling as old Joe and his new knitting circle claim their usual corner. We might need to expand. Already? Nolan appears behind me, his hand finding its familiar place at the small of my back. We just added the second board last week. Look around. I gesture to our packed shop, where every table hosts a story. I'd say we're victims of our own success. The morning sun streams through windows we polished yesterday, catching on Marie's fresh flowers and the local artwork now adorning our walls. Sarah's pastry case, actually full these days, draws a constant stream of admirers. In the corner, Connor helps the high school music teacher set up for today's acoustic performance. Speaking of success, Nolan nods toward the door where Beth from the market arrives with her arms full. Looks like the community display is about to get more interesting. I move to help her, but Annie beats me to it. I've got this, she says with a knowing look. You two oversee from a safe distance. We're not that bad, I protest. Yesterday you spent 20 minutes arranging 3 coffee cups because, and I quote, they needed to tell a story. They did. But I'm laughing as Nolan pulls me away from the counter. He guides me to our favorite spot, where we can watch the morning unfold. His arm slides around my shoulders, and I lean into him, savoring the quiet moment amid the cheerful chaos. Remember your first day here? He asks softly. You mean when the pastry case was empty and the espresso machine made concerning noises? I mean when you walked in wearing corporate armor and impractical shoes, looking like everything I thought I didn't want. I elbow him gently. And now? Now you're everything I didn't know I needed. He presses a kiss to my temple. Though your shoes are still impractical. Before I can defend my footwear choices, Marie's voice carries across the shop. Kathryn, dear. Where should I put these new centerpieces? I'll help, Nolan offers, but I catch his sleeve. Stay. Watch with me. Just for a minute? He settles back beside me, and together we take in the scene. Old Joe teaches a teenager to knit while sharing stories about Elk Ridge's history. Sarah discusses recipe modifications with a young mother. Beth arranges local honey and handmade soaps beside Marie's flowers, creating a snapshot of mountain craftsmanship. And everywhere, people read wishes. Some laugh, some nod in understanding, some quietly add their own offerings to the wall. Connections form like morning dew, subtle, natural, beautiful. You did this, Nolan murmurs. We did this. I turn into him slightly. Though sometimes I still can't believe it's real. Which part? The successful coffee shop or the devastatingly handsome business partner? Both. I smile up at him. All of it. Being here, belonging here. Kathryn? A quiet voice interrupts. Mrs. Thompson, our retired librarian, stands before us with tears in her eyes. I wanted to thank you. Both of you. This place, what you've created here, it's given us back something we didn't even realize we'd lost. My throat tightens. We just provided the space. The community did the rest. She shakes her head. You provided hope. Connection. A reason to come together. She squeezes my hand. You've given us back our heart. She moves away before I can respond, leaving me fighting tears of my own. Hey. Nolan's thumb brushes my cheek. You okay? Better than okay. I look around at this place that's become so much more than a coffee shop. I'm home. The word feels right on my tongue, true in my heart. This is where I belong, among wishes and coffee cups and mountain mornings. Among people who've become family and a man who looks at me like I'm his favorite dream come true. I love you, I say, the words rising naturally as steam from a perfect latte. You know that, right? His smile is brighter than any city skyline I've left behind. I love you too. Even in those shoes. My shoes are fine. Your shoes are dangerous. But he's kissing me, tasting of coffee and joy and forever. Annie's exaggerated sigh breaks the moment. If you two are done being disgustingly cute, we have actual work to do. Right. I straighten my apron. Back to making wishes come true? Nolan's hand finds mine. Already did. Some wishes happen in grand gestures. Others in quiet moments between coffee cups and kisses. And the best ones? They feel exactly like this, like belonging, like purpose, like love served in a hand-thrown mug with a mountain view. I'm wiping down the last table when Nolan slips in through the back door, right on time. Hot chocolate's almost ready, I call out, hearing him hang his jacket on the hook we installed last week. The one right next to mine, like it belongs there. No coffee? He appears behind me, sliding his arms around my waist. I thought that was kind of our thing. Even coffee experts need a change sometimes. I lean back against him, savoring his warmth. Besides, I added a secret ingredient. Let me guess, hazelnut? Maybe. I turn in his arms. Though you'll have to test it to be sure. The hot chocolate steams in two of our favorite mugs, handmade by a local artist, decorated with mountain scenes. We settle into our usual corner, where the wishing wall's fairy lights cast a gentle glow. To success? Nolan raises his mug. To partnership. I clink my mug against his. And to you, for believing in this crazy dream even when I doubted. You never doubted. He takes a sip, his eyes warming. Not really. You just needed someone to remind you how capable you are. Is that what you were doing? All those arguments about community integration and local suppliers? Obviously. His smile is soft around the edges. I was definitely not being stubborn or difficult at all. Of course not. I curl my feet under me, watching the marshmallows melt in my chocolate. Thank you, though. For everything. For helping make this place what it is. Kathryn. He sets down his mug, taking my free hand. You're the one who made this happen. You saw what the Coffee Loft could be when everyone else had given up. Not everyone. I squeeze his fingers. You kept the hazelnut macchiato on the menu. Best decision I ever made. He brings our joined hands to his lips. Well, second best. What was the first? Letting myself fall in love with a corporate troubleshooter in impractical shoes. I laugh, but it catches in my throat when I see his expression. You're ridiculous. I'm honest. He takes my mug, setting it beside his. And I'm ridiculously, honestly, completely in love with you. The words aren't new, but they still make my heart skip. Even when I reorganize the wish cards 3 times in one day? Especially then. He tugs me closer until I'm practically in his lap. Even when you wake me up at dawn to test new recipes. Even when you spend an hour arranging Marie's flowers, just so. They need to tell a story. They do. His arms tighten around me. Just like everything else you touch. We sit in comfortable silence, watching shadows dance on the walls. Tomorrow we'll host a local author's reading. Next week, a series of craft workshops. The calendar on my desk is full of community events, each one a thread weaving this place more tightly into the fabric of Elk Ridge. I've been thinking, I say finally. Dangerous. I poke his ribs. About the spring festival. What if we expanded it? Set up in the town square, get all the local businesses involved. Make it a real celebration of everything that makes this place special. Already planning months ahead? Well, I'm not going anywhere. The certainty in my voice makes him pull back to look at me. What? Did you think I might? Instead of answering, he kisses me. It's soft and sweet and tastes like chocolate and promises. When we part, his forehead rests against mine. I love you, he murmurs. Even when you steal my flannel shirts. Especially when I steal your flannel shirts? Especially then. We clean up together, moving in the practiced dance we perfected over these past months. His hand brushes my back as he passes. I lean into him while he locks up. Small touches, casual intimacies that feel as natural as breathing. At the door, he pulls me into one last embrace. I rest my head on his chest, listening to his steady heartbeat. Stay, he whispers into my hair. Always, I promise, and I mean more than just tonight.
Chapter 18. Nolan. Spring mornings in Elk Ridge paint the mountains in watercolor shades of green and gold. Today, those colors stream through the Coffee Loft's windows, catching on the wooden sign I've spent weeks carving. The words wishes made real curve around a mountain laurel design, each petal and leaf detailed with care. I pause in the doorway, taking in the scene before me. Old Joe holds court at his usual table, teaching 3 tourists about where to find the best fishing spots. Sarah's morning delivery has left the pastry case gleaming with possibility. And there's Kathryn, moving through it all like she was born for this. She's greeting regulars by name, adjusting Marie's fresh flowers, making everyone feel like they belong. She's also wearing my flannel again. I've stopped pretending I'll ever get it back, sleeves rolled up as she shows a young couple the wishing wall. Her hands move animatedly as she explains the tradition, and I catch myself smiling at her enthusiasm. Some things never change. Other things change completely. 6 months ago, I wouldn't have believed you if you told me I'd be here, holding a sign I carved for the woman who turned my world upside down. 6 months ago, I was too busy building walls to notice someone worth letting in. You're doing that staring thing again. Aunt Edie appears beside me, a knowing smile on her face. Though I suppose you've earned it. Just admiring our success. She eyes the sign. And creating more excuses to visit? As if you need them. It's a business partnership. Is that what the kids are calling it these days? Before I can respond, Kathryn spots us. Her whole face lights up, the way it always does, the way that still makes my heart skip, and she weaves through the morning crowd to reach us. Is that my sign? She reaches for it, then stops. Our sign? Your sign. I hand it to her carefully. Though I retain artistic privileges for any future woodworking needs. Making yourself indispensable? Her fingers trace the carved laurel petals. Just ensuring my supply of free coffee. As if you pay anyway. But she's smiling that soft smile that's just for me. Aunt Edie clears her throat. Well, I can see when 3's a crowd. Though. She glances meaningfully at the ring box burning a hole in my jacket pocket. Sometimes crowds have their uses. She disappears into the morning bustle, leaving me wondering, not for the first time, how she always knows everything. She's plotting something, Kathryn says, still admiring the sign. When isn't she? True. She looks up at me. But she did get one thing right. Oh. Bringing us together. She steps closer, coffee and vanilla and home. Even if we were too stubborn to see it at first. I saw it. I tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. I was just difficult, cautious, stubborn, strategic. She laughs, the sound mixing with coffee grinders and morning chatter and everything that makes this place special. Well, whatever you want to call it, I'm glad you got over it. Me too. The ring box feels heavier by the second. Though I was thinking, always dangerous. Maybe we could make it official. She raises an eyebrow. The partnership? Pretty sure Aunt Evie already handled the paperwork. Not exactly what I had in mind. Understanding dawns in her eyes as I reach for my pocket. Nolan. I had this whole speech planned. The box feels warm in my palm. About wishes in coffee shops and how you turn my whole world upside down in the best possible way. Had? Have. I take her hand. But looking at you here, in our coffee shop, wearing my shirt and that smile that makes me forget how to breathe. I just want to ask. Simply. Honestly. The morning light paints her in gold as I sink to one knee, and suddenly the whole shop goes quiet. Kathryn Taylor, will you? Yes. Her eyes shine with tears and laughter. Yes, you ridiculous man. Even without the speech. I didn't actually ask yet. Then hurry up. She tugs me to my feet. Some wishes shouldn't wait. The ring slides perfectly onto her finger, and the shop erupts in cheers. Old Joe wipes his eyes. Sarah appears with champagne from somewhere. Aunt Edie looks suspiciously unsurprised. But all I see is Kathryn, radiant and real and mine. The lodge dining room glows with celebration. Aunt Edie has outdone herself, filling every surface with flowers from Marie's shop and setting out her best china. The scent of Declan's pot roast, the same one he made the night Kathryn first joined us for dinner, fills the air with memory and promise. To the happy couple, Connor raises his glass, grinning. And to Nolan finally getting over himself. To Kathryn, Jameson adds, for being stubborn enough to wait him out. Kathryn laughs beside me, the sound mixing with the warmth of family and firelight. She's traded my stolen flannel for a soft sweater the color of mountain laurel blooms, but she still looks like she belongs here. Like she's always belonged here. If we're done roasting the groom-to-be, Aunt Edie stands, her own glass raised. I'd like to say something. The room quiets, respect for our matriarch evident even in celebration. When Kathryn first arrived at our lodge, my aunt begins, I knew she was special. Not because of her business plans or her corporate credentials, but because she saw the magic in this place. In our community. Her eyes grow misty. And in my stubborn nephew, who needed someone to remind him that some things are worth the risk. Aunt Edie. I start, but she holds up her hand. Let me finish, dear. Your mother would be so proud of the man you've become, of the love you've found. She always said the best things in life come when we're brave enough to open our hearts. She turns to Kathryn. Welcome to the family, sweetheart. Though if I'm honest, you've been part of it since that first dinner. Kathryn squeezes my hand under the table, and I feel her engagement ring press against my palm. The evening unfolds in waves of laughter and stories. Declan brings out a cake decorated with coffee beans and mountain laurel flowers. Connor teases me about all the custom furniture I'll be making after the wedding. Through it all, Kathryn glows with happiness, fitting seamlessly into the controlled chaos of Callahan family celebration. When the noise gets a bit much, I catch her eye and nod toward the porch. She follows without hesitation, another small proof of how well we've learned to read each other. The mountain air carries the first hint of spring flowers. I wrap a blanket around us both as we settle into our favorite rocking chairs, the ones where we first started falling in love. Happy? I ask, though her smile has already answered. Perfect. She leans into me, her head finding its place on my shoulder. Though I still can't believe you managed to surprise me with the proposal. I usually see right through you. I can be sneaky when properly motivated. She plays with my fingers. And were you properly motivated? By the thought of forever with you? I press a kiss to her temple. What do you think? Below us, Elk Ridge twinkles like earthbound stars. The Coffee Loft's lights shine steady and bright, a beacon of community and connection. Of wishes made real. Remember your first night here? I ask softly. When you made fun of my shoes? When I tried not to notice how beautiful you were. I pull her closer. How right you felt in this place. And now? Now I notice everything. I turn her face to mine. How you hum while you make coffee. How your eyes light up when a wish comes true. How you've made every part of my life better just by being in it. Smooth talker. But her voice catches. Honest talker. I brush away a tear that's escaped. And I honestly can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you. Inside, we can hear our family laughing, the sound carrying through the open windows. The mountains stretch endless before us, painted in twilight shades of promise. I love you, Kathryn whispers against my lips. Even when you're stubborn. Especially when I'm stubborn? Especially then. Some love stories start with coffee cups and wish cards. Some begin with impractical shoes and mountain views. But the best ones? They never really end at all. They just keep growing, like mountain laurel in spring, blooming more beautiful with each passing season.
Epilogue. Kathryn. Elk Ridge, 1 year later. Mountain laurel petals drift past my window, dancing on the spring breeze. The garden terrace below has been transformed into something magical, white chairs in neat rows, fairy lights strung between trees, and flowers everywhere. So many flowers that Marie joked about running out of vases in 3 counties. Almost ready? Evie appears in the doorway of the bridal suite, holding a small box. I have something for you. more something borrowed? I smooth my hands over the simple white dress, which already features Evie's vintage pearl earrings. Something remembered. She opens the box to reveal a delicate lavender sprig, preserved and pressed. Claire, Nolan's mother, wore this at her wedding. She loved what the flower meant, what it stood for. Home, I whisper, touching the dried petals gently. Family. Love that blooms even in the mountains. Evie tucks the sprig into my bouquet. She would have loved you, dear. Almost as much as her son does. Before I can respond, Sophia bustles in with my veil. 10 minutes. Are you ready? Have you cried yet? Wait, don't cry, I just finished your makeup. I'm not crying. But I blink rapidly anyway. I'm just happy? Evie's eyes twinkle. That tends to happen when you find where you belong. They leave me for a final moment alone, and I turn back to the window. Below, guests are finding their seats. I spot old Joe in his best suit, Sarah arranging what looks like a tower of pastries, Marie making last-minute adjustments to the flower arch where Nolan and I will say our vows. Nolan. My heart does that familiar skip it's been doing since he first looked at me like I was something precious, instead of something to resist. A knock at the door reveals Jake, who'll be walking me down the aisle. Ready to make an honest man out of Mountain Man? Is anyone ever ready for a Callahan? No. He grins. That's what makes it an adventure. The ceremony passes in a blur of sensation and emotion. The scent of mountain laurel and wildflowers. The warmth of the spring sun. The sound of coffee shop wind chimes we hung in the trees, their gentle music carrying on the breeze. But mostly, Nolan. Nolan, standing tall and handsome in his suit, though I spot his favorite boots beneath. Nolan, whose eyes never leave mine as I walk toward him. Nolan, who looks at me like I'm every wish he ever made, coming true at once. I didn't write my vows on a wish card, he says when it's time, his voice carrying across the hushed garden. Though it seemed fitting. Because you, Kathryn Taylor, are the best wish I never knew to make. I grip his hands tighter, grounding myself in their familiar warmth. You came to our town inn and somehow you saw straight through every wall I'd built. You believed in magic and community and the power of coffee to bring people together. But mostly, you believed in me. Even when I was too stubborn to believe in myself. A tear escapes, despite Sophia's warnings. Nolan catches it with his thumb. I promise to love you through every season. To support your dreams, even when they involve rearranging the wishing wall 3 times in one day. To bring you coffee in bed and kiss you good morning and remind you every day that you are the best thing that's ever happened to me. Even if you never give back my favorite flannel shirt. Laughter ripples through the crowd. I take a shaky breath, my own vows rising from my heart. I came to Elk Ridge looking for a coffee shop to save, I begin. Instead, I found a home. A community. A love I never expected but can't imagine living without. His hands tighten on mine. You, Nolan Callahan, with your stubborn heart and endless loyalty, taught me that some wishes take time to come true. That the best dreams are the ones we build together. I promise to love you through every challenge, to believe in your vision even when you doubt, and to always stock honey lavender syrup in our kitchen. Even though it's not cost-effective? His eyes dance with memory. Especially because it's not cost-effective. I smile through happy tears. I promise to be your partner in everything, in business, in family, in life. And I promise to love you more each day, even when you're being impossible. Especially then. The rest of the ceremony blurs into joy and tears and the perfect moment when Nolan's lips meet mine, sealing our promises with a kiss that tastes like forever. The crowd cheers. Flower petals shower down from somewhere above. And through it all, Nolan holds me close, his heart beating steady against mine. The lodge's great room glows like a fairy tale, transformed by hundreds of twinkling lights and garlands of mountain laurel. Long wooden tables, handcrafted by Rowan, stretch beneath crystal chandeliers, each setting marked with a wish card for guests to fill out. In the corner, Sarah's wedding cake rises like a mountain peak, decorated with sugar flowers and tiny coffee cups. "Mrs. Callahan?" Nolan's voice is warm in my ear as he pulls out my chair. "Your coffee, made exactly how you like it. Already starting the husband duties?" I accept the steaming cup, breathing in the familiar scent of honey and lavender. "Just the first of many." He presses a kiss to my temple before taking his seat beside me. Though I draw the line at reorganizing the wishing wall at midnight. That was one time. The sound of silver against crystal interrupts us as Evie rises for her toast. She looks radiant in blue, every inch the proud matriarch. "When I first met Kathryn," she begins, "she was trying to save a coffee shop. What she didn't know was that she was about to save something far more precious, a heart that had forgotten how to trust." Her eyes meet mine, warm with affection. Though I suspect she needed a bit of saving too. We all do, sometimes. That's what family is for. Nolan's hand finds mine under the table. "To watch you two find each other, support each other, love each other, it's been the greatest joy of my life since Claire left us." Evie's voice catches. She would have loved this day. Would have loved seeing her son so happy, so complete. Would have loved you, Kathryn, for bringing that light back to his eyes. I squeeze Nolan's fingers, feeling him squeeze back. To Nolan and Kathryn, Evie raises her glass. "May your love continue to grow like mountain laurel, strong, beautiful, and ever blooming." The toasts continue, each one adding another layer to our story. Connor tells about catching us kissing in the supply closet, quality control testing. I protest. Jameson recounts the time Nolan spent 3 days carving the perfect frame for my birthday present. Even old Joe stands, thanking us for creating a place where wishes still come true. When it's time for our first dance, Nolan leads me to the floor with that half smile that still makes my heart skip. The music starts, soft and sweet, like morning light on mountain peaks. "Happy?" he murmurs, drawing me close. "Perfect." I rest my cheek against his chest, feeling his heartbeat strong and steady. "Though you still haven't told me where we're going for our honeymoon." "Somewhere with terrible coffee." His laugh rumbles through me. "So you'll appreciate coming home even more." Impossible man. You're impossible man. Later, when the dancing and laughter have mellowed into quiet joy, we slip out onto the lodge porch. The spring night wraps around us like a blanket, stars scattered above like wishes waiting to fall. "Remember our first night out here?" Nolan pulls me against him, his arms warm and sure. "When you were determined not to like me? When I was already falling for you, and too stubborn to admit it." He presses a kiss to my hair. "Though in my defense, you were very intimidating with your tablet and your business plans." "And now?" "Now you're still intimidating." His smile curves against my temple. But in the best possible way. Below us, Elk Ridge twinkles with promise. The Coffee Loft's lights shine steady and bright, a beacon of everything we've built together. Of everything we'll continue to build. "I love you," I whisper into the quiet. "Even when you're impossible." "Especially when I'm impossible?" "Especially then." We stand together, wrapped in starlight and possibility, as music and laughter drift through the open windows behind us. Inside, our family and friends celebrate our love. Outside, the mountain stands sentinel over our dreams. Some love stories start with coffee cups and wish cards. Some begin with misunderstandings and stolen flannel shirts. But the best ones? They grow like mountain laurel in spring, strong roots, delicate blooms, and the promise of endless seasons stretching before us, each more beautiful than the last. This is our beginning. And it feels exactly like coming home. The end. This has been All You Need Is Macchiato, written by Susanne Ash. Copyright 2025 by Susanne Ash. Production copyright 2025 by Susanne Ash. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe if you want me to put more of my books on YouTube. Visit my website at www.susanneash.com for more of my books or find me on Amazon.